going to call this meeting of the Gloucester School Committee to order. I'll remind everybody that the mission of Gloucester Public Schools is for all students to be successful, engaged, lifelong learners. And we are meeting early for this to take out of order the superintendent search, the approval of advertising and all relevant materials. It's time sensitive. This needs to go out on, be approved tonight, and so it can be published on Friday, and that will get us back on time, on the regular time frame that we hope, that we approved 2 weeks ago. Correct. So the material for that we're going to be discussing is not in the packet. It was sent out separately. So if everybody can find that, it was sent out this morning, or was
I think I
recent?
sent it out this afternoon.
This afternoon.
One-ish, maybe?
And it, but I think the title says Dorothy Presser.
Oh, yeah.
And,
'Cause I
and
just-
there are two items.
Materials for Wednesday?
Materials for
It
Wednesday.
says materials for Wednesday. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go through this part of the meeting, and if we finish before 7 o'clock, we will recess until 7 o'clock, and then we will start the regular meeting with the rest of the material. So this is more or less like a workshop for us to fine-tune this advertisement. Okay, so let me just... So the document that we're looking at is titled Gloucester 2020, is that correct? And it's an invitation to apply for superintendent of schools. Does everybody have that?
There.
Okay. We have, there are some blank squares in this. Those are for pictures. And did the pictures get sent out separately?
You send them separately. You send them separately.
Okay, so why don't we start with that and pick out some pictures that we
Did we all receive pictures?
I don't think I got it.
Okay, well, I'll send them to you right now. They're pictures that were part of the positive happenings, because those pictures we have got a release on to use.
I think my only comment on these,
Well, wait till I send them to Laura and everybody
Sam
else.
also.
Yes.
Because they didn't get some for everybody else.
very small. No, I need to talk to you too.
Yeah, I have to leave at 6:30.
Oh.
I'm saying, I have a conference call that I have to do with the congressman on the coronavirus. I think I forgot that it was the 6th. He's the only one who remembered.
Okay, I just sent them. There's pictures, we're gonna look at some pictures and pick out some pictures for the brochure. Okay, I just sent them to you. Is everybody?
I haven't gotten it
Just for sake.
Well, it's a big file, so I might take a
yet.
little.
Okay, I'll look at. Oh, here, it just came.
Yeah, that, like I say. So any preferences? I think we need 3.
Are they all, I can't see from this, are they all of equal resolution, or are they all?
I think they are. You can, I know they're small because they're, but they will expand if you can,
How do we identify which ones we like?
well, there's,
I have them printed out, so. if
there
anyone needs
there are
to-
3 pages. I mean, we can just assume page 1, page 2, and page 3.
Mine has 5 pages.
Yes, there's
I
5
it's not updated, I have to
All
use my
right.
phone.
Okay,
I think the art ones come out.
The art
on
ones,
separately.
we don't need.
Yeah, not the art.
I like the one on the, is it the
This
third?
one right here?
The
Okay,
third,
when did you send it to us?
Just now.
I haven't gotten it yet. Please resend.
Okay.
I got an alert
Well, it's,
from, and it says it's not gonna let me open yours.
okay, it's a big file because it's got pictures in it.
Maybe on your phone, it won't open.
It may not
Well,
open
it
your
won't,
phone.
I haven't gotten it on my iPad either.
All right.
Um, If the announcement looks, Dorothy's gonna move it around, right? So the pictures won't be these little teeny,
Yeah, they'll
She'll make it-
shape them and put them in the right size and.
Yeah, these are condensed. They are expandable. The resolution will hold. The one with the kids at the table.
Yeah,
I like the
table, that's a nice one.
yeah.
Wait, is this it?
Working, yeah.
Yeah.
Can I
The
see?
table, that was before.
Yeah, that's a good one, that's one. How many do we need
The
to choose?
resolution of the ones in the gym is questionable, but I like that one.
In the gym.
They're sitting on the floor.
Yeah, that's the one that looks like it has a resolution
Yeah,
issue.
and the same, I can't.
I hate to be, I know you wanna try to get this done, but I think we need to see if there's a middle or high school picture somewhere,
All right, these are all.
because these are all elementary kids.
Yep.
Well, once again, the people who are going, I don't know if this is, I mean,
I'll have to
maybe,
ask.
we
It's
could,
not pulling up, I've been on this one, so,
Do you want to look at mine with me?
yes, please. Why isn't it pulling up though?
We have to approve this tonight,
yeah, we need to approve it tonight, and,
but that doesn't mean you couldn't send her a picture.
So is this going in the front, the back, what's going?
well,
what's
there's
going on?
do you have the document?
No, I don't, sweetie.
No, it's another document, it's called Gloucester 2020, so that was in a previous.
Yeah, it's,
I
We looked
can't.
at it.
Oh,
This
you know,
is the
I
same.
sent it last week.
no, it's,
Yeah,
Yeah.
So there's 1, 2.
So can I make the suggestion that maybe you or me reach out to Jessica Kirk, who's the drama teacher at the high school, and just have her send,
Like the resolution's
good
fine, so I
picture
don't know
of-
if it will clear up.
that kind of shows
So
high school
it's
kids
not yours.
performing.
This one,
Might be the easiest way to
Yeah.
get
this
a
one.
good picture that would just drop
But we
it.
have to figure out the resolution.
okay, it just has to happen, we gotta get this to Dorothy, tomorrow morning, first thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that she has time to put it together, so it can go out to be published on Friday. So,
Even a graduation picture or something.
yeah,
I also like the one of the teacher standing in front of
I
a
do too.
classroom with the kids in front.
Oh, I found it too.
Is that this little one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that too.
That's a nice one.
okay, so
That's
the,
that one.
yeah. So let's, so this one,
And maybe one of the kids reading, the girls reading, or the boy reading. But if we need, how many are we choosing
Three.
to?
we'll choose 3 and we'll,
And then we'll eliminate one for,
and then if we can get a high school picture or a middle school picture, we'll replace it. But like I say, this is not gonna be the selling feature of whether somebody's gonna apply for the job of superintendent.
Right,
If we don't have a picture of the high school, but it'd be nice.
nobody would know if it's not even our kids.
Right, it's
We should get any
So
picture.
then the gym, if it's, I suspect this gym one is not adequate resolution, so I would say there's one of two girls sitting and reading. That's nice too.
Is that,
This one,
the, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just.
Okay, yeah, you like that, that's it. So, the two girls reading,
The teacher in front of the
the
class.
teacher in front of the class, and
Table.
the table,
The table.
Yeah.
working together, okay,
perfect.
all right,
Great,
so,
Right, the ones with us.
that's that part of it.
okay, great.
What's next?
We have to do criteria, and we have to do salary.
Yeah. Well, the, as far as salary goes, we talked to Dorothy about salary, and she felt that, what she said?
She would suggest a range of 180 to 195.
180 to 195. Okay.
She said both Danvers and Beverly were paying 176 in fiscal year 18. Methuen did a search last year and advertised at 170 to 195. Both Linfield and Hamilton Wenham are advertising now. Linfield's range is 185 to 195, and Hamilton Wenham's range is 180 to 195. PBD is leaving the salary to be negotiated on their advertising, as did Everett this year. So we have to decide, do we want to put a figure in or to be negotiated?
Did she give you a sense of if that's put you at an advantage, or just does it manage to do so?
She didn't say, she just recommended 180, 195 if we were gonna put a figure.
There'll be a range of applicants and their experience. And certainly somebody that's currently an assistant superintendent, and this would be their first superintendency, would probably come in at a lower rate than somebody that's been a superintendent somewhere for, 5 or 10 years, so.
I'd like to suggest 170 to 195.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
That way we have negotiation
170 to what?
to 195.
Okay. That's
Now, of course, 195 would be on the high end with,
Yeah,
but 170.
What staff are you getting now again? I'm sorry.
185.
And that's 9 years in district?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 180 is too,
Too high as a
it's
starter.
too high. We can't negotiate anywhere from there.
No.
Yeah,
Um,
170 low, 185 high, 190 high.
I would leave ourselves the flexibility to go 190, 95. That's what other communities are advertising. I wouldn't want someone to not pick Gloucester because we didn't hit that 195 like other communities did.
Yeah,
There are a lot of searches going on right now, but at the same time, I don't know that I would recommend that salary unless Mr. or Mrs. Perfect walked in the room.
yeah.
But I like the flexibility of having more than $15,000.
Explain the criteria of the committee again, please.
Explain what?
The criteria of the committee,
we're
who's
gonna
gonna
do
be on
that.
the committee?
Oh,
Oh, and who's gonna be on the search committee? You mean the positions? We're looking for a teacher
Mm-hmm.
from elementary, a teacher from middle school, a teacher from high school, a parent from elementary, a parent from middle school, and a parent from high school. We're looking for somebody from the main office. We're looking for somebody that is an educational support professional,
like a social worker.
like a social worker.
Municipal.
We are looking for a municipal employee. We're looking for somebody who is either involved in the vocational education or in the trades. We're looking for 2 community members. What
And
else?
then
A student,
oh yeah, that's true.
and
and they make a recommendation to us with three to five candidates.
Because the director of the DPW
Yeah.
and someone from the police department would like to at least be in the last interviews because they're gonna be going correspondence all the time, especially with the DPW director. He says, I don't wanna be on the search committee, but I would like to, when you have your candidates, I would like to also be involved in the interviewing because I'm gonna have to work very closely with your superintendent also. And that was brought up with me today with Mike Hill because you need that relationship between the city who's
No,
gonna
I
maintain your
understand.
buildings.
I understand why we want to do that. We had set a criteria that we were going to have a search committee with no members of the school committee on it, and they were going to receive.
I don't want to, we're not asking to be on the search committee, we're
Yeah.
saying the last three, at least, so he can help whoever's searching, saying, you know what, I feel that
Well,
you,
the next step is us, is the school committee.
well, that's what I said, you said you're gonna add with the three, I said I would like also the three, that whoever's on gonna be, the school committee's gonna do the interviewing, that they also be interviewed by one police officer, one fire department, and one DPW, because they will work closely with the school superintendent. Because the fact is, I don't wanna hear that we're not getting things done, we're not doing things, we're not replying, because they're working closely, they met with Dr. Sapphire today to get things done. I'd like to keep this moving forward.
So let me say this, the criteria that we already voted was that we were gonna have a search committee meet, bring the full committee, 3 to 5 candidates to interview at that point. And then the full committee interviews the 3 to 5 candidates and determines who's gonna go forward. We didn't say bring in outside members. What I would suggest is.
Can I offer something to from the
I want to
last?
finish what I'm saying. So what I would suggest is, when the full committee gets to the point where we're interviewing people, we have to develop interview questions, and that's a time we could work.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
I don't wanna throw it up because we're all in here, but that didn't work, did it? Gary Fritsch, we had problems
I
with
wasn't
them,
here.
okay? That didn't work.
No, but wait,
I
wait,
don't
can I-
want, wait a minute, I have to say something too, I have to go to
Hold on,
conference.
hold on.
I have to go to conference call. Point of order, you know, do that when I'm talking to. For the fact is, asking a question, everyone can ask questions. When you feel someone when you interview, you know that's someone. Excuse me, but I hired a police chief. I didn't wait for all your questions. I had to bring him in an office and I had to make sure he was the right person for our community. There's questions that you can say, yes, you're gonna get that relationship. I just wanna make sure that our schools, you're building new schools, you want them to stay repaired, you want all these things, that they have that correspondence. You want this correspondence with the police, your resource officers. This way, whoever maybe you might have a different idea. He might say, you know what, I like resource officers, but we'd like more social workers. This way, they have a feeling. We're not gonna say they're not gonna choose them. We're not asking them to choose. They just want to say, you know what, then make their suggestions. You know what, of these three, this one's really good, but you guys do what you
Well,
need.
anybody can observe the interviews. They're gonna be done in public, too, just so
All
you
right,
know that.
yeah.
Okay, so my recall when we hired, and when we hire principals, is that it's two people coming together, schools and the candidate. So my recall is that we have a day or an amount of time where that person comes, and part of that process, and tell me if this is not part of this, is they meet with some principals, they meet with a group of parents, and these are all separate. They could have a meeting with city personnel, or, you know, because my recall was that it was like a day-long visit.
When it gets down to 2.
When it gets down to the finals, so that it's a back and forth, and it's definitely a cross-section of who they meet with, in terms of where their perspective is coming from too. So Mike Hale wouldn't be sitting with a parent, he'd be with, or he might be
Just
by
want you to
himself.
understand that this is the first time that we're really working together. This was brought up to me, this was brought up by your DPW, your police and fire, saying let's work as a team, let's make sure we have the right person, let's make sure that it's gonna correspond with all of us. Because they had just as much concerns from teachers. My thing's not repaired, this is not done, they have it just the same thing, are we safe in our schools? Or do we have the COs, the whatever? The fact is, they asked me just to make sure that, we have that.
We will make arrangements when they come and visit for them to meet with the three people.
I'll be back. Thank you, I'll be
On
back.
the day they visit. That's not a problem. We can do that.
Yeah,
Okay? So we got pictures.
So we
got
gotta determine the
range.
salary. Did we determine the salary?
Does
Take a
anybody
vote.
have a problem? We're gonna present this all to the full to the committee for vote later on. We're just trying to get it.
No, this
Yeah.
is the.
Oh,
I thought
Yeah.
this was,
Yeah,
this
right.
is supposed to be the full committee.
Yeah, we are the full committee. But it's on the agenda later on, that's all. The 170, 190 to 195.
I'm good.
I'm gonna make a motion that
Oh,
we,
we want to make motions
Oh,
on
I
each
do,
one of
yeah.
these little things?
well, it's only 3.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's-
So I would make a motion that we advertise a position for the superintendent search to be at a salary range of $170,000 to $195,000.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
I just have one quick question.
Yeah.
We're not putting like qualification for a PhD, right?
No, it says advanced degree preferred.
Okay. All right.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then we picked out 3 pictures, the kids at the table, 2 girls reading, and the teacher in front of the class. And I'll make a
Did you
motion.
say you were getting another one or no?
Well, we're gonna,
Try.
we'll, if we can get a picture
Of a different grade.
of a high school or middle school
So,
by tomorrow morning, we will replace one of those.
So I make a motion that we have chosen the 3 selected identified pictures to be advertised
Using-
in addition to the potential of 2 others.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Now we have
Okay, what
criteria.
was the other thing?
where are you going?
Application process, we got pictures, interviews, the timeline we've already passed, community profile we've already passed. Qualifications. Is there anything else?
So where it says the position,
Yeah,
excellent communication skills, so when we met at personnel, we recommended to the full committee that those be the criteria listed on the brochure. I'm only seeing 2 because I printed it. Do you have them over here?
There's,
Yeah. So those are the, these were recommended, when we met at personnel, we recommended to the full committee to adopt
these.
those criteria.
Okay, so,
So I can make that motion out of personnel because I have to, I
Yeah.
mean, it's not a report tonight, but
it's okay, we
it
can
was
do it right now.
recommended and seconded by the personnel subcommittee to recommend to the full committee that the position part of the brochure, which is the criteria, be the selected language for the brochure. Nice move.
second.
Second, is there any discussion?
I think there was spelling and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Not-
Joel
Not in
said,
that particular part,
Okay.
but there is other issues, and Joel had 2 issues as well.
okay, well, let's just finish this. Is there any discussion about the criteria used in the description of the position? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. So now, grammar.
Well, okay, in community profile,
I'll write it down.
okay. Less than 40 miles north of Boston, north is not capitalized.
North has to be capitalized.
It should not be capitalized, it is currently
Okay.
capitalized. Joel and, that we use the word renowned twice in 2 successive sentences, Joel caught that one.
Wait, hold on. Renowned
Let's
twice.
see, where is it though?
Founded in 1623,
Second paragraph.
second paragraph, yeah, so, a renowned arts community, and then Gloucester is renowned. We could easily,
Change the second renown to known.
right, what is known, yeah, or is
Known, is that what we're going with?
Gloucester is known for its
Okay.
vital, yeah, sure.
So
And then Joel had another one, which we found the same one at the top, vision statement. So the first page, vision, our mission is for all of our students to be successful, engaged, lifelong learners. I think you need a comma after engaged.
Yeah.
And let me just look at the bottom. Yeah, you have it at the bottom. That's all I have. I keep going over it. That's all I have right now.
I have two things where STEM should be written out, science, technology, engineering, and math, and if you want to do the abbreviation, you put in parentheses. And same with advanced placement programs, AP.
Oh, yeah,
So that's in the,
Yeah,
that's in community profile.
our innovative
Yeah.
pre-K.
Yeah.
Okay?
Are those both in?
yeah,
They're
they're
in the
the
fourth
fourth
paragraph.
paragraph.
Yeah, good catch.
Yeah, it's just be spelled out. And then in parentheses would be the initials.
Okay. So we have the mission statement repeated down at the end and at the top. Is that what, but,
I have one more thing. Picky, there's a comma in that same paragraph, our innovative schools, in the third line. It says, including the O'Malley Innovation Middle School, after school and summer programs. It doesn't need that comma after middle school.
Where is it?
Third line,
Let me see.
in the middle, it says after, it says
Middle.
middle school, after school and summer programs. That comma shouldn't be there.
Well, I disagree. Is it talking about the O'Malley after-school programs, or is it talking about O'Malley, comma, after-school and summer programs, comma, and a comprehensive high school? So it seems to me, unless it's part of O'Malley, it does require a comma.
Well, it's O'Malley tends to be the only one that has the after-school and summer programs.
No, I mean, Beaman does. Beaman has the after-school and summer program, a summer program in STEM.
yeah.
Okay, well, if that was your intent with that, then leave it
I
alone.
didn't, no, I don't think I don't remember writing it, but, in this way. But, it just depends on our intent. If we're talking about O'Malley's programs, then we don't need the comma, but if we're talking more generally, then I think we do.
So,
You know what I mean?
so what are we trying to say here? After school and summer programs in STEM and theater in the elementary schools.
Right, so it's in the elementary.
So it's, that all seems to go with elementary school,
Right,
the way it is, without,
right. Let me see if after school is high.
after school and summer programs in the STEM and theater in the elementary schools.
And we should make the change into STEM that Kathy suggested.
Yeah,
in
oh,
science.
definitely.
But
In the AP.
My thinking is it was supposed to be the O'Malley Innovation Middle School after school and summer programs in STEM, comma, theater in the elementary schools,
Oh.
and a comprehensive high school. So those are examples.
Right, so
Right.
if that's the intent, then it's
That's
a
what I
different-
thought the intent was,
Right,
is to provide
That
a list
reads
of
clear.
things we were highlighting.
That reads clearer than if you read, if the commas after O'Malley. Jeremy, what you just said reads clear.
Yeah,
well, it's saying something different,
Yeah.
so it doesn't,
So if
it's
we,
not necessarily clear or not clear, it's a different
so
intent.
there's a couple of ways to do this. And it's going to be
Stay
a
out of
couple
it, so whatever you guys
a couple of
decide.
different things, okay? So the sentence is, the Gloucester Public Schools offers creative educational opportunities to our students at every level. Okay, so that sort of sets how we're going to cover it, including the O'Malley Innovation Middle School, after-school and summer programs in STEM, and theater in the
Okay,
elementary
so-
schools. So
So,
that's what,
it's convoluted.
so my suggestion is, since we're saying at every level, we should go elementary, middle, high, firstly. We should just do it in order, right, to simplify it. And then, at every level, including, and then let's start with the elementary. So, after school and summer programs in STEM and theater in the elementary schools, comma, the O'Malley Innovation Middle School. Is there anything specific?
O'Malley Academy,
the O'Malley Academy.
The O'Malley, okay, so then the O'Malley Academy, we should say what that is.
O'Malley Academy,
Which is
after school.
and summer.
Okay, after school and summer program, and then, comma, and a comprehensive high school that offers high level, then we go,
Yeah.
then we do the high school.
Okay.
So that it makes it more logical to do it in order. It's a
Okay.
long sentence. It's a very long sentence.
Well, you could do them each as a sentence.
You can do it.
You could do each level as a sentence.
It won't read the same way. It won't read as
Hmm.
fluidly.
All right, do we have that?
I think so, from what half I can hear. I got,
So what are we?
without looking at it, that there'll be STEM and theater in the elementary school, and then the O'Malley Academy after-school and summer program, and comprehensive
So
high school, whatever the rest of that
The
sentence was.
summer program for Beaman is engineering, so do we want to be clear that it's engineering?
well, there's theater programs, and I mean, I don't think the truth is, I don't think we want to be specific. I think
Okay.
we're trying to give a sense of
Okay.
the offerings in the Gloucester Public Schools. So from my perspective, it's just like it's a brush. We don't really need to
Right.
list all
Be
these things.
specific.
Okay.
So that's right. That's my feeling on this. We're trying to give a candidate an idea,
Right.
but I can't. We have to write this down somewhere that we can see in order to approve it. It's like.
So the sentence, as I understand it, would be, the Gloucester Public School District offers creative educational opportunities to our students at every level, comma.
Very good.
Why don't you do
Or
period?
period.
So the intent, as
Well,
I
that's what I was
remember it,
saying.
was that O'Malley Innovation Middle School was the example.
That's what I thought.
That is like, because that
Because it's-
alone,
Says it.
right, that alone is sort of a standalone, independent,
Right.
creative
Okay.
take on education.
So then maybe you go after school and summer programs in STEM and theater in the elementary schools and at the elementary and middle school.
It
Right.
might be clearer if you just,
We don't have to say everything, so
No.
we can just choose like one thing, I think.
Keep it simple.
but I think it would be clearer if you started with in the elementary schools as opposed to having it tacked on the end of that sentence, that
Mm-hmm.
that
Right,
phrase.
absolutely, so
Um,
let's just see what I can write this here.
Yeah, I'm trying to copy it,
You know,
but it's a,
I hate,
it's a
I can't
PDF,
use
so you
PDF.
can't like make
Yeah, you
changes.
can't do anything with this one.
okay,
Trying to write things down here.
But
okay,
if we
here we go.
So, where we're at now is the Gloucester Public School District offers creative educational opportunities for our students at every level, including the O'Malley Innovation Middle School.
No, we wanna start in elementary.
Right.
Okay, so let's, oh, shoot.
Oh, if you press the,
Oh my gosh.
Open with, then it all looks funny.
and you can at least, copy and paste that paragraph into an email and just change it.
All right, this is one sentence.
I know.
What are we saying? Why are we stressing out so much?
We're not stressing, I can't write, I mean, I can,
So if you just tell me what to write in that one sentence, so we're clear the Gloucester Public School District offers creative educational opportunities to our students at every level. Do we just want to do a colon and list 3 things?
no.
Period, and say 3 things?
We could do that, I mean, is someone able to type this and then we can work from
Yeah.
that? Can you do that?
Yeah,
Okay.
hold on one second. I'm putting it into an email.
Okay, the Gloucester, so this is where we start, where we are, where we already have. The Gloucester Public School District offers creative educational.
Hold on.
No, it's the same sentence, this
Oh.
part I haven't changed, so, up to our students at every level, comma, including after-school and summer programs in science, technology, engineering and math, parentheses, STEM, and theater in the
Hold on,
elementary
hold on.
schools, okay?
In STEM so including after-school and summer programs in STEM at the elementary schools?
And, we could do STEM and theater, or just, I would say and
Oh, yeah,
theater.
STEM and theater.
In the elementary schools, comma, the O'Malley Innovation Middle School, comma, and a comprehensive high school that offers, and then the sentence that we already have here, high-level vocational programs in those things. And then we can remove some of the things here. High-level vocational programs and we could say and 13 AP programs, or what we have here, 13 advanced placement, as Kathy said, is advanced placement programs, as well as an on-campus bank, period. I mean, we don't have to have the life skills program in there. I think we should eliminate something here.
I like to say to prepare students for the future,
Okay. So
but I agree
then,
with you, you could drop out the life skills.
We'll then take out the bank, as well as a life skills program to prepare students for the future.
Yeah.
I think that's
13 advanced placement programs as
well
well
as
as.
a life skills program to prepare students for the future.
But essentially what you've done here is you've just listed the elementary and put it ahead of the O'Malley,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
the middle school.
And then-
And then you're going to write out STEM, the STEM
And AP,
and the AP, and you're gonna remove,
the bank.
as well as an on-campus.
But we're
But you
keeping
want-
comprehensive high school that offers high
Yeah,
level vocational
right.
programs.
But you want to, so I'm just saying, you don't want to eliminate just the bank, you want to eliminate as well as an on-campus bank.
We're 13 AP programs as well as a life skills program to prepare students for the future. So we're just taking
Okay.
out the bank.
All right, I'll just
Okay.
retype that.
All right, so that's,
Okay, and the last picky thing is the last thing on the bottom, Melissa, there's no period, where it says here at the Gloucester Public Schools, it just needs a period after adult.
Right. Nice catch.
So,
We need to make this.
Sam modified that document, right?
I'm not modifying the document.
She just typed.
She
it.
just
Yes,
typed that
it's
sentence.
PDF. That's the problem, is none of
yeah,
us
you
could
can't,
count it.
you can't.
So I'm just gonna send it to you in an email.
Perfect.
Okay,
And then the period was at the end?
very end.
Okay,
Okay,
I didn't capture
Got it.
anything else other than this
Okay.
one thing.
that's fine. I get everything else.
anything else?
That's what I see.
Joel's, did we get Joel's thing from
think
the?
we
Yeah,
did.
we did. Okay, good.
Okay. Do we have a motion to accept the superintendent, the invitation to apply for superintendent of schools brochure as modified?
Oh, wait. We've been capitalizing superintendent of schools, but under qualifications, we say licensed or eligible for licensure as a superintendent
Okay.
of schools, which is not capitalized.
So we should have superintendent
It's
capitalized
capitalized
in the whole
everywhere,
document.
yeah. Good.
Right, because that's a title.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Anything else? Okay, do we have a motion to
So moved?
Second.
accept it for advertising? Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. We will recess until 7 o'clock.
Was there a motion on the salary? I don't know.
Yes.
170 to 195.
Who made the motion?
I moved it, I don't know, second.
I think Laura did.
I might have seconded it. Thank you.
It was unanimous. Okay? All right, so we will take a recess until 7 o'clock, where we'll reconvene the school committee back into order. We already convened at 6 o'clock, and we took care of some business, and we have been on recess, and we're now back in order, and I'll ask everybody to join me in the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oral communications, if there's somebody here, anybody here who would like to address the school committee on any subject not on the agenda, this is their opportunity.
Thank you. I don't believe this is on the agenda, but I wanted to address the letter that went out to the parents and guardians.
So could you just
I'm
say
sorry,
name and address?
Cynthia Carney, 34 Fernald Street, Gloucester. Letter went out to parents concerning coronavirus COVID-19. And I want to talk about how the district is planning to
We are going to have.
I'm not asking for answers right now, I just want to address the letter, if you don't mind, Jonathan.
Okay.
I know that in the letter it said the school facilities department's vigilantly sanitizing our educational spaces as we typically do during cold and flu season. It also says we are following all recommended guidelines to ensure the safety of our students and staff. I do want to point out that on February 24th, the Mass Department of Public Health put out some guidelines specifically for K-12 public schools. Schools should follow their regular cleaning and disinfecting programs, it does say. It also says clean hard surfaces, desk, tables, countertops, sinks, which I think I can attest, and most of our staff, if not all, can attest, are not getting cleaned. If we don't do it, they're not cleaned. Clean and disinfect frequently touched surfaces, door handles, faucets, railings, unless this is done overnight. We're not seeing that happening. And use alcohol wipes to clean keyboards. We do not have alcohol wipes to clean keyboards. Also, I'm not putting down our custodial staff one iota. They work very, very hard. We had cut our custodial staff exponentially many, many years ago. They've never been reinstated. I contend that we don't have enough people cleaning our schools properly. That may be why some of our schools are in the conditions they are now. And also, I can say that, my floor gets mopped on breaks. Maybe it was mopped in February, but it's certainly not done on a daily basis or a weekly basis. And this is typical for the district. So my question, I guess, is will this be addressed? And the statement saying we are following all recommended guidelines to ensure the safety of our students and staff, I think is very vague, and it needs to be clarified just what is being done, because it's clearly not following what the Department of Public Health is recommending for K-12 schools, elementary and secondary.
We will be speaking to this very subject very soon.
Thank you.
Tonight.
I appreciate that. I was hoping.
Anyone else like to speak under oral communications? Seeing none, I would just like to say, recognition of the situations that we have found ourselves in lately, I'm going to ask people in the audience to please remain quiet during the meetings, and also understand that this is a meeting of the school committee, it's not a public hearing, and we are trying our best to do the right thing for the students of Gloucester, and if we can't hear what we're talking about, or if people interrupt us, that's detrimental to our mission. We give people the opportunity to speak at the beginning of the meeting. After that, our expectations that people, if they have a conversation they need to take, they will leave the room and have it outside. And the same thing goes for school committee members. If you want to speak to somebody next to you, you should do it not while we're sitting here at the dais. It's a violation of open meeting law to have side conversations, and we should do our best to follow those rules, as well as waiting to be recognized before you start speaking. So hopefully we need to tone things down a little bit. Everybody's emotions are high, and I understand that. But it doesn't mean we can be disrespectful to each other. Thank you. Student advisor, recognitions. Do we have any? Laura?
I want to recognize Principal Janui and the staff and teachers at Beeman School for an amazing parent university night on Tuesday night.
Great.
And well attended and very informative.
Any other recognitions? Student Advisory Council.
All right, hi, I'm Emily, I'm the Secretary of the Executive Board at GHS. So we have the blood drive coming up on Friday. We have a lot of people from student council and NHS volunteering, and then a lot of students donating blood too, which is good. And sophomore event is coming up. I think it's on the 27th of March, and that's going to be at the Gloucester House. So they just finished selling tickets for that. And then junior event is in May, I believe. And now the seniors are selling tickets for the senior banquet on May 1st. And then we are taking orders for senior sweatshirts. We have like gray hoodies at $35 with all of our names on the back. And lastly, the juniors are having a game show night fundraiser at the high school. So they're having volunteers play games like Jeopardy and Family Feud to raise money for their class.
What was the date on that?
Tomorrow night.
Oh, tomorrow night.
Mhm.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
No problem.
As always, you're welcome to stay. We may be taking up some things that may be of interest to high school students very early in this meeting, if you wanted to stick around for a few minutes.
I'm gonna go.
But-
Sorry.
Okay. We have the consent agenda. There are a couple of items that I believe we need to take off and speak to separately. So I would like to take off out all of the 2 field trips that are under number E. Is there anything else anybody would like to remove from this consent agenda? We have 2 field trips before us tonight. We have a number that we've already approved, which are coming up. And I would like to speak to those in the as part of the superintendent's report on the coronavirus. And I'm assuming the mayor will be back with some information. She's in a conference call with Seth Moulton, Representative Moulton, right at this very moment. So this is an unfolding situation. So can we just hold those the field trips until, and is there anything else on the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda minus the out-of-state field trips.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Under deliberations and educational issues, our first up is we have Officer Nicastro here to present the Handle with Care program, and welcome.
Thank you to the school committee for allowing me this opportunity. The Gloucester Police Department's Community Impact Unit has partnered with the Gloucester Health Department as well as the District Attorney's Office of Essex County to present the Gloucester School Committee with the Handle with Care Initiative. The Handle with Care Initiative was developed by a gentleman in Massachusetts, and it's now spread throughout the country. Handle with Care should be a priority because 60% of children in the United States have been exposed to violence, crime, or abuse. Many are also exposed to domestic violence. We as a community need to intervene and deal with childhood trauma before the child experiences adverse atmospheres, disrupted neural development, social, emotional, and cognitive impairment, health risk, disease, disability, social problems, and sometimes ultimately early death. Our school leaders, with the help of the police department, must intervene when a child is exposed to trauma, which results in reactivity and impulsivity, aggression, defiance, withdrawal, and depression. When a child suffers from trauma, it can lead to several things like falling asleep in class, failing grades, tardiness, withdrawal, suspensions. Our schools need to shift our response from what is wrong with you to what happened to you and how can we help you. With the Handle with Care initiative, police encounter a child at a scene of a traumatic event. The police then send the school a notification that the child has been exposed to trauma with no other police details. The school can then mentor the child and monitor them and provide sensitive support and eventually mental health services if needed. It is a very simple program that has the opportunity to save our children from suffering from trauma. There is no additional cost to taxpayers. I have sent you all a memorandum of understanding that I would need each individual school principal to sign off on. There should be a dedicated liaison within each school that would receive the notices from the police department. And I would ask that each principal identify who that liaison should be. If implemented, Gloucester would be the first city in Essex County to adopt the Handle with Care initiative. There are other counties in Massachusetts that are already moved forward on this initiative. Gloucester would be the first in Essex County. I have a short 5-minute video that basically explains the program that you can watch.
Some kids witness violence and crime in San Antonio. These kids. Situation where a child has been traumatized, and you can't help but think this child is going through this. Now they have to go to school. How are they going to learn? How are they going to react?
We get some children that come in with domestic violence, and we are not informed of it, and we expect them to be in class and ready to learn. When they're falling asleep, they're being sent to the office because they can't keep their head up.
Diana and Doug, who work together to build trust between SAPD police officers and SAIC students, wanted to better support traumatized kids. Fortunately, Diana heard about West Virginia's Handle with Care program. Officers there notify schools if a child is present at a traumatic incident. Schools monitor and support the child.
What would this look like in our district? Because we have one of the largest districts in San Antonio, and there's so many moving pieces. But in exploring it and brainstorming with Officer Green, it was like, okay, we can do this on my end. I'm ready to take on this challenge because if it's going to better serve our kids, then I want to try it.
I started from the ground level. I called police officers, I called patrol officers. Tell me what you think about sending a notification to a school if you come across a child that's been traumatized. I called sergeants, I called lieutenants, I called captains. I worked my way up the chain of command to get opinions from these people on our department. And they were very, very supportive. Diana and Doug created a Handle with Care pilot program for San Antonio. At incidents where a child is present, patrol officers or dispatchers email the district the child's name, grade, and school with a message to Handle with Care. No confidential or incident info is sent to schools. Schools make sure an appropriate counselor or staffer is ready to support the child right away. The pilot, which includes online training on child trauma for key school staff, began in January 2019 with SA, Northeast, and East Central ISDs.
Whether it's arrest of a family member, family violence in the home, whatever the case may be, by being able to send this notification to the school so they have a heads up before the school bell rings the next morning, is just instrumental in getting them the right care.
One notification came to SAIC for a student. The teacher began handling the student with care, later learning the student's father had killed their mother.
They sensed that the teacher knew something was going on, and that was enough for the child to open up. And knowing that information gave the teacher was more compassionate towards the child, and they were able to connect better with the child, therefore making the learning much easier.
Our campus just needed a heads up. We saw things that happened to these kids that were super traumatic that they don't have a way to deal with it, and the first person across their path may be the first person to get the brunt of their emotions all at one time. And we need to be able to handle them with a certain amount of care, and that we have an environment that's going to be a safe landing for them.
Everybody knows that when they get that notification, the people that need to know are on deck.
And it allows us to know as soon as SAPD has given us the information that we now have our responsibility to the child as we get back to the campus to follow through. We silently monitor, so we don't actually go up to a child and say, hey, we heard about last night.
Because now I have the means and I have the support from Handle with Care. I'm not assuming that role of what am I going to do for this child. I have another resource, another person, another somebody that's going to say, you know what, let me follow up with this child. Let me see how they're doing. And that's what's important.
Police have sent 56 Handle with Care notifications impacting 58 students so far. They hope to expand to more schools.
Well, I think the program has been very successful thus far with helping these students succeed in school. Just talking to our partners with the school districts, and they're telling me the stories about these children, how their counselors have encountered these children when they get to school, and how they have broken down and they cried and they opened up
and they've been able to provide the love and the care that these children need.
Now we know the things that are going on at home, and we have a responsibility to do something and help these children grow up to be productive members of society when they're more open and feel secure and safe and are able to just unload a lot of the things they carry with them. Makes them better person, and it helps their learning and opens up their little brains to be able to absorb what is now being taught to them in class versus the general fear of safety.
So, the police department already has a great relationship with all the schools through the Cops and Kids program. So I don't think starting a relationship from ground zero is gonna be an issue. We can, if adopted, we can keep this in elementary schools, we can expand it to elementary and O'Malley, we can tailor it however the school committee feels fit. We can try it out as a pilot program and see how it goes to the end of the year, or, we'll do whatever you guys recommend. If you have any questions, feel free.
So, my only question or my confusion was, this seems like pretty simple, I couldn't see what the reaction would be, well, I don't know if this is a good idea to inform schools that a student may be coming in having witnessed something traumatic, and so, just from what this presentation, from reading what was in the packet, this just sounds like, of course, it's crazy, it's kind of finding it as an already protocol, right? I think it's a great idea, I'm so happy you brought it to the committee, I'm into it, the committee's into it.
Yeah. Actually, I gotta give credit to the health department's the one who brought it to the community impact unit, and you're right, Joel, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, this seems too simple, like, I was waiting for the catch.
Right, yeah.
There isn't.
Laura?
So I totally agree with Joel. My one question to you is, how do you, in this program, does the police officer ask as a child, what school do you go to? Like, how is that connection made?
We would try to find out in a roundabout way on the call.
Okay.
And through conversation, talking to the kids, we generally try to speak to children anyway, and to break the ice, that might be a break the ice question.
Okay.
And if the officer doesn't find out, then I will follow up the next day and try to find out myself.
And there's probably another way, I mean, probably you could go to the superintendent, or, I don't know what the protocols would be.
We'll find out.
There's a way to find it.
There is one other issue, but it's not a breaking point. We have school choice children that are in Gloucester that go to school in Rockport. So how we're gonna handle that situation is a whole another ballgame. I would have to, I'll obviously reach out to Rockport, explain to them what we're gonna do, and hopefully they'll be on board as well, but that's another jurisdiction, I can't force them to do anything.
Samantha?
This is more sort of a general comment, because I agree with you completely that this just seems like a no-brainer, but I would like to just say that teachers are often on the receiving end, so we need to make sure our teachers are trained and prepared to sort of deal with the symptoms, because they're not just acute, right? They will last a long time, so great. We'll find out the day after that something happened, which is really helpful, but the symptoms might continue. So I think on our end, we just need to do that footwork to make sure that everybody feels comfortable to deal with the symptoms and the behaviors. My other question is, so you still file, right, with DCF if something like this happens,
Correct.
right? So you find out more information on your end.
Correct.
And then also on the school's part, say, and you might not know this answer, Dr. Sapphire, you might, say this kiddo is seeing a therapist in the community, will the school be able to report this handle with care notification to the therapist?
The school's gonna have nothing to report,
Right.
other than the child was
Flagged as handle with care.
faced a traumatic incident.
Right. So I guess that's my question is like, would the school, say the school,
It can be complicated
Yeah.
because you technically normally need parental consent in order to speak with a therapist.
yeah,
Whether there are exceptions to that based upon circumstances is something that I think we need to look into.
those are just sort of logistical questions, because I think it would be very easy for a social worker to slip up and say, hey, we got a call from Gloucester Police Department saying, we have to handle this kid with care, and they might not be able to do that to the therapist, and so I think we just need to make sure that all of those steps are really taken seriously, because we don't wanna impact people's confidentiality in the process.
And to go back on your first question about teachers, I am not a mental health professional, I don't think teachers are mental health professionals. Their only job is, if they see something, to try to intervene, whether that's through a guidance counselor, if there's mental health workers within the school. I'm not asking the teachers to be their counselor in any way.
No, so can I give you an example?
Yes.
So just from my experience as a social worker in the school, if I knew that somebody had a trauma history, I would generally say, please don't restrain this kid, don't put your hands on this kid, because they've witnessed domestic violence or whatever it is. And that wasn't always necessarily, that advice wasn't always taken. And so that is my point, is that teachers need to know how to handle those behaviors and not, if they're trained to do a restraint, say, and the behavior warrants a restraint, but that kid has a trauma history, that's gonna escalate the issue. And so I guess that's just sort of a baseline example of like, yes, that behavior might warrant a restraint, but it also might just warrant get the other kids out of the class, because that kid has a trauma history and you put your hands on them, and we're gonna have a bigger issue. You're making his trauma or her trauma worse.
Correct.
So that's just, teachers not always are equipped to understand those nuances.
We do have one school that officially, for lack of a better term, is a trauma-sensitive school, and they have spent the last couple of 3 years working in that specific area.
Yep.
It would seem that in connection with the Handle with Care program, that we begin to disseminate that information across all the schools.
Yeah, I would
To some degree,
appreciate that.
Melissa?
First, I just want to give a disclaimer. I have the great opportunity of working with Lieutenant DeCastro every day on community issues that involve families. And when he told me about this program, it was surprising that someone like him would bring this forward because of how involved and integrated you've put yourself into the community. And for that, I want to publicly thank you. As someone who's worked at my position at the courthouse for the past 26 years, I can say this program is long overdue. I mean, these aren't new kids coming into the school. I read almost every police report that's generated out of the police department, whether it's an arrest, a warrant, or just a summons or complaint. And it is unbelievable how many student victims names are in those complaints. I mean, whether they witnessed it, whether they were hurt by it. There's many, many kids in our schools that have trauma at home, even when the parents are in trouble with the police, they're still witnessing trauma. So there's no doubt in my mind that a program like this needs to happen, where the school is notified specifically that there was an incident, like say last night, at least you have a time frame. It is a struggle to know that not a lot of detail is going to be given to the school, because I mean in some situations it's really bad, and to just be able to call up and say, this is a handle with care. I mean, it seems to me there's going to be different levels of handle with care. So I'm a little curious how we could build on that type of information. While you say it's not public information because it involves a child, police reports are public information. You just redact the name of the child. So I'm wondering how we would be able to build on that a little bit, because just saying a child was a victim last night is quite different than saying a child was raped for 3 years by their uncle, you know, so
I see both.
there's a level of information I think that needs to come forward a little bit more than just saying handle with care, and I wonder how or if that could happen.
So we have a memorandum of agreement with Gloucester High School, with the school resource officer, we can share information with the school resource officer, and then share it with the schools.
Okay.
The problem with sharing too much information is people start talking, and it puts that child's privacy at risk, which could further traumatize them. So, I mean, there's two ways to look at it.
Yeah.
I echo Joel that I'm surprised this isn't kind of standard procedure, but I can see why it hasn't been. But it seems a pretty obvious and great solution. I mean, I know kids are going through all sorts of things, and it doesn't have to be some encounter with the police in their house. And so the more we know that there might be something interfering with their ability to focus and learn, and the more compassion and just availability our schools kind of are on notice for is gonna be really helpful. So I love everything I read about this. This is terrific.
So to your point, it seemed from I didn't get it from the packet, but I got it from this video, that it seemed like one of the intended results is that this handle with care is a little red flag that gives the school, notice, because the woman in this video, all her stories about so-and-so came in and they broke down and told us what happened. It seemed like, the police can't say, here's what happened to, little Jimmy, but at least say, hey, something happened, and then the school staff can work to, the kid chooses voluntarily to release that information that allows us. So it seems like that this is to kind of just crack that barrier and let the school extract, what it needs. Is that correct?
Correct. That's exactly what the video showed. They come to find out the father had killed the mother, and the schools didn't pry. They waited for the child to come forward. And that can be beneficial sometimes and sometimes not beneficial. It depends on the seriousness of what's going on. And there's so many domestic violence laws that, we can't share domestic violence cases, and, it gets down. My recommendation would be to start slow, build a solid foundation, start with the handle with care with no details, and if that grows into something more, it grows into something more.
Any further questions?
So this website is Salute America. They sent me a whole packet. There's tons and tons of information. I'll gladly send it to each school principal so they have it to show their teachers, so nobody's blindsided on what's going on.
Did you say that at one point, I thought it was even gonna be today, there was gonna be a public presentation on this? Is that coming, announcement to the public somehow? Wasn't there something that was gonna happen?
That's what Taylor's here for. So Taylor's covering the handle with care portion of this, as well as the rest of the school committee, and she's also coming down on March 16th at 10 o'clock. We're having the grand opening of the Community Impact Unit, which is a new division of the police department that I'm the lieutenant running it, and we have a satellite office in Browns Mall that'll be taking place Monday, March 16th at 10 o'clock. And this program will be part of that, which is cops and kids, and traffic division, school resource officers, and everything else.
Do we need a motion?
I think we do. We need a motion.
I make a motion that we accept the Handle with Care program that was presented by the Gloucester Police Department.
Is there any discussion?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Coordinate with the
Yes.
administration to implement those things. Thank you. We can keep going in order and have the presentation on the Gloucester High School activities account for esports club. We are going to get a presentation from the health department, no?
Well, Karen Carroll couldn't make it here tonight, the director of the health department. They have provided me with her presentation from city council last night, and it's at the will of the school committee. It's about 38 minutes in length. So if you choose not to see it tonight, I can ask IT to make copies, and you can pick them up probably by Friday, if not late tomorrow afternoon.
Could it be shared? Yes, it'll be shared. Google Drive.
Well, it's big.
If you get the Google Drive.
Okay, good.
Is the mayor still on the conference call?
Must be.
Which
She's
one?
on there.
She said she was coming back.
She said she was coming back. I would just like to hold off on the discussion about this until she returns.
See if she's available. Would you be kind?
The coronavirus and how we're going to, what?
You're moving on to.
I am. I am moving on to item C because we have Mr. Harris here.
Oh, I wasn't speaking on the each correction, Mr. Henry is.
Oh, the guy we just sent off to
Yeah, it's good
to find out what's going
Hey,
on.
Mr. Linehan, are you here to speak on behalf
I'm
of
here to help, Brent, but he has all the technical details.
Well, the Brandon's coming, he's coming right back.
He's literally walking back.
Yeah.
Is there anything going up on the screen? No.
So we have a request,
Yeah, so she's wrapping up some notes at 1 second.
Yeah.
I can go on.
1 second's good, yeah.
Okay.
that's what you got, 1 second.
I can be as quick as need be, hopefully I'm here to speak to my Thank you, members of the school committee, for your time this evening. You guys have a lot of important topics, so I'll try and keep this brief. My name, for those who don't know, is Brendan Henry. I'm the IT Operations Manager for the Gloucester Public School District. Tonight, I'm here to request a student activities account be created for the GHS Esports Club. So I have a little excerpt that I'm just going to read verbatim from the parent permission form. Gloucester High School is excited to bring the opportunity of high school esports to the city of Gloucester. For the spring 2020 season, we are participating in the Rocket League Play Versus competition. Play Versus is a company specializing in organizing and supporting school esports programs. Rocket League, the game that will be played, has rules similar to soccer and is conducted in a 3v3 format. It plays out much like a season does in a traditional sport, with the preseason, regular season, and playoff games occurring throughout the spring, beginning in February. Matches are played after school on Thursdays against other schools throughout the state. This involves no travel. James Cook wanted me to bring his backing to this. He said he could not make it tonight. We've also gone over it at length with Greg Bach, who has also lent his support. The reason I'm here asking for an account now, even though it sounds like we're already mid-season, is because they waived the student fees, which are $64 per student for your inaugural season to help you get off the ground. One particular student is a senior, having recently been a senior. I was very excited to try and get this off the ground as quickly as possible so that they don't miss their chance. He's currently our team captain, our varsity team captain. So again, we're here to attempt to create this account to collect fees for the fall season. I've already received a letter from the Craft organization, owner of the Patriots, who also own a Boston-based esports team, welcoming us to high school esports, which was kind of exciting. I was hoping it would be tickets, but it's not. That I could accept that. Slightly declining. This after-school club is open to everyone. It uses existing infrastructure from a computer lab. We have 14 computers that have been configured to run this game. We are able to scale that up to 26 if necessary. The cool thing about this is that although it does fall into your varsity, JV, what have you, level of teams, is that we can scale up. We can field, one school fielded 7 teams last fall. They had that many kids interested, so everyone can participate. This game in particular, they have multiple tournaments outside of schools that are for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. It's non-violent. It's 3 cars versus 3 cars playing soccer. That's all it is. We currently have 2 teams participating, varsity, JV, and that is my presentation. So, any questions?
Questions? Laura?
My own ignorance. So is there any skill involved in this?
There is a tremendous amount of skill.
How
It is.
Are you kidding?
I am not.
Oh yes, excuse me for not introducing, this is Kyle Linehan, our computer science and economics teacher at the high school. He's technically the head coach, I'm just the assistant coach. But I have, watched esports, going up through high school, and which is hard to believe because I get off work, working in a restaurant down in Rockport, after working a 10-hour shift, get home, crack a soda, and sit in front of the TV and watch esports, and that was, 10 years ago, so it's really surprising to see how far it's come, and high school's now getting involved. There were, just a quick note here, there were 27 teams in the fall season, and there are 36 currently participating in spring, and I only expect that number to grow come the fall.
And just on that, would this be an official Gloucester team? Gloucester High School fishermen, is this?
Sure, I don't know
I'm just,
the delineation, but
It's
wouldn't
a club.
mind if it was.
It's a club right now.
It's a
It
club.
would be
It is an after-school club.
It's a club,
right
it's
now.
not a sport.
Correct, and it's worth noting, and I probably should have put this in at the beginning, that the MSAA is, who also is the organization that oversees our cheerleading, is the one that currently was organizing the esports. They partnered with this company, Play Versus, who they recommend Massachusetts high schools use.
I'm sorry, can you talk a little, Can you talk a little bit about the extent of esports across the country, some of the competitions and the size and some of the things
Sure,
and
personal.
other districts in the state that are.
So I can tell you 37, but I don't know of any locally, especially in surrounding geographic.
In Massachusetts.
Personal note, I went down to Philly last October to see the Overwatch League Grand Finals. It was a packed stadium of 20,000 people, all watching a 6v6 esports competition, and it was wonderful. My girlfriend and I brought another couple who had no experience with esports before, and they had a blast. So, and Rocket League is extremely easy to pick up and extremely difficult to master. Their skill ceiling is incredibly high. Some of the people, you'll grab a controller and say, oh, this is cool, and then you watch people go and your jaw will drop. So, and we have a couple of those kids on our team at the high school, and so it was really important to me to get this underway in the spring so that anyone that's graduating at least had that opportunity. Because I know what it's like to sit there in the spring and see what's coming in the fall and not be able to participate. So.
Joel?
What are we using for hardware to facilitate?
Pre-existing computer lab.
We have computers capable of
That's correct.
Gaming? And
Yeah, this was a computer lab established a number of years ago. I would want to say it was because of a grant, don't quote me on that, but yeah, Tyler Markey, my predecessor, spec'd it out and built it out quite right, I would say.
And so I guess my question would then be, if it is to continue, I imagine these is all PC based?
Correct.
So these PCs, I assume, are more expensive than the standard towers you otherwise would put throughout schools. This way you can move from towers to just the books anyway, right? I'm just trying to figure out what the cost of the district is to maintain a lab of gaming computers versus computers running browsers and...
As we maintain any computer lab in the high school, I would say that up to the standard that is that computer lab, I would say we have 2, maybe 2.5 if we count the machine shop. Those computers are all eligible to play this. I don't see the requirements of a pre-established game changing in the near future. So I would say that with the minimum of this season and throughout the next school year, 0 financial impact to the district.
So I'm learning about these things, and this past summer my son and a bunch of his friends had signed up for, I think it was an Overwatch League, and it was literally held in the planetarium at the Museum of Science. And it was quite a different experience than you'd ever imagine, I think, where there were teams from colleges, and these kids are really serious and they win money. So the level of competition and the seriousness with which they kind of share and collaborate and compare how they did things and cheer each other on. I don't do any gaming, but it really was quite interesting as a spectator to see the whole dynamics and the enthusiasm around this. And I know a lot of the kids, they learn, I think they learn a lot about programming and how things work and teamwork and everything else. So a lot of kids are really, really enjoy it. So I'm glad we can provide an opportunity, hopefully.
I'm not too familiar with it, but I've heard about it, and I'm trying to Google it at the same time and eating a tangerine, but who monitors them? I mean, I like you said, there's gambling, there's whatever, but...
I didn't say gambling.
Well, there's money, you said money, but whatever.
Prizes,
Come on,
prizes.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, it doesn't matter, because you have those, what do they call, the secret whatever, the football, whatever. As you can tell, I'm not a really super sport person, but my concern is you asking for our support, you're just letting us know, you're letting us know this is happening, because my concern is, like she said, how old is your son and what school?
16 yesterday.
And college. Can they get angry? Can they find someone who's playing? Can they say, I'm gonna kick your ass? Excuse me, but, you know what, because competitive. I've seen just kids playing just with little PlayStations, how competitive and angry. Is this something that people can monitor? Because when you play soccer or you play a sport, you have a referee, you have parents there. This here is in your own home. You don't know who your child, whatever the esports you're doing or who's there. Like you said, college students jump in and you're competing with college kids. How do we know that what's happening, who they're competing with? So I can't stop anyone from doing, but are you asking for our support, or you just let us know this is the new wave and this is happening?
What they're asking for is for a student activity account so that they can collect fees and pay their expenses, correct?
But that is a very valid question, because, so the Play Versus is the organization that the MSAA is partnered with. So there are consequences, just as if a kid was to go off the rails at a match in real life. There are consequences associated with, for example, I mean, all the kids have screen names. If they find our coaches for each match, and we report things that are violations, if they find a screen name is inappropriate, they will suspend the kid for a match. You shouldn't have done that. And that ranks up pretty severely to, remove for the rest of the season, remove from the organization permanently. So there are standards in place to make this a clean learning environment.
We only play at school, so, and we're there the whole time, so all the matches are in the computer science room.
You only play at school, but once that they know it, and then they can go on their own. My concern is,
Yeah.
you know
A
what?
different account though, I mean, they're gonna play video games at home anyway.
Yeah, so this is an account that you're gonna set up,
Only Gloucester.
and you're gonna compete.
Correct, and this
And
account is
so only
actually,
that you know who's gonna be in your, that's what I needed to know.
and the account is deleted at the end of the season.
That's
So
what I needed to know.
They're not getting angry with these other opposing students and different schools, and then
Have you seen
having
me
that
play?
trail-
I get angry.
Yeah.
No, that's what I needed to know,
Yeah.
that you were directing this is something that's gonna be a school
Mhm.
project, all the names disappear after the school's done or
Correct.
whatever.
Yep.
Okay, so as I said, what you're looking for from us
Mhm.
is, and we have to approve any student activity account.
Correct.
You have the blessing of the high school principal, and it is setting up as a club.
I move that we approve a Gloucester High School student activities account for the esports club.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Sounds fun.
I've never felt older.
I have to come see it.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Do we want to take the superintendent's report at this point?
Not really.
Well, it's about the coronavirus. And
That's what I said, I really just left it, yeah.
We were waiting for you to
Oh,
return.
gee, thank you.
That's no maybe?
Yes, I think it's important.
Marty, I certainly don't need to publicize the issue at hand. What I do want to emphasize the fact is that since it's come up on our radar, we've been working extremely closely with the health department and with the city as well. And as I mentioned before, Karen Carroll would have come tonight. She could not. We will have a copy of that particular clip that we'll be able to share with you hopefully by tomorrow. What we have done and what we'll be doing with our leadership team on Friday is to both establish and flesh out the guidelines for the district's response to the coronavirus. The basis, the information that we have, there's so much that comes flooding in that we have gone to the templates and the guidelines that have been provided by the CDC, Center for Disease Control. This is a document which is a work in progress. For example, the governor declared a state of emergency yesterday, and this was developed a day or two before that. But this information has been reviewed by the health department, it was reviewed by the city, and also by the public information officer, the PIO for the city as well. So this is not just uniquely work that we're doing, anything we do is in tandem and in conjunction with the city and with the health department. And the same is true for any and all correspondence that will be going out to families and to the community. These general guidelines are divided into two sections. Some of the recommendations from the CDC as to actions that can or should be taken prior to any identified diagnosis of the coronavirus in your community. And then the second section is a lead into some of the actions that need to be done once there have been at least presumptive cases whereby they feel that somebody may have coronavirus as well. So let me run through it, and if there are any questions, let's stop and we'll talk about it. And if we don't have any answers, those are certain questions that we'll be working toward. I should mention that the Commissioner of Education will be holding a webinar tomorrow as well for some guidance coming from the Department of Education. So this document itself represents that first bullet, which is to update and implement our emergency operations plans. We have sent out, as was alluded to before, a letter last week. I hope to get something out by the end of this week as well, with a little bit more detail, particularly with respect to the guidelines that we're discussing at the moment. We have publicized some typical responses to infectious diseases and what folks need to do to try to minimize the potential for contact. Establishing ongoing information sharing is in place. We have met twice. We'll be meeting twice per week through June with the health department, fire department, the police, Beauport, Beverly Hospital, mayor's office, and the senior center, homeless, and a whole mess of agencies across the city. We'll be doing them virtually beginning next Tuesday. The point being is that if the epidemic does come here and people are out, people are sick, to the extent that they can still participate. So the information sharing system, the hierarchy of the incident command structure has been established by the health department, and we are in just a cell phone call away on a daily basis. Any questions come up, they're giving us immediate response and reaction to any questions or concerns that we have. One of the important things that we need to do is to monitor and plan for, to look for absenteeism and to anticipate that there's going to be some absenteeism. And if there are patterns or particular schools where we're seeing absenteeism taking place, not only are we going to be keeping track of it, but we need to notify the local health officials as quickly as the information comes in. The elementary schools already contact families directly and ask about Johnny or Susie and what the deal is. The middle schools and the high schools do send out automated responses, but I think that we're also going to send out an email through School Messenger to the families with a prescriptive set of questions about if your child is sick, what are the symptoms, and so on and so forth, and have you consulted your physician, and any information that comes back, in addition to the fact that these children are absent, will be shared again with the health department. Obviously, students and staff who are should stay home when they're sick. The CDC recommends that we identify some of the critical job functions and positions to see whether or not we can provide alternate coverage, but obviously transportation is a vulnerability. Payroll, I think we can take care of that. In fact, our payroll person will be out due to maternity leave sometime probably in April. Food service is another concern, and if this thing really goes wild, then we're going to be seeing extensive absenteeism across the entire district. But it's a one step at a time kind of situation. We have procedures for students and staff who are sick at school. The nurses, of course, are the situational leaders in those particular situations, ensure that students or staff that are sick at school are sent home as quickly as possible, that they're kept to the extent that's possible separate from the rest of the school if they can. And if we suspect that there are, again, symptoms that are consistent with the coronavirus, then we need to get in touch with the health department as quickly as possible so that they can begin their investigation into these situations as well. In terms of performing routine environmental cleaning, the Department of Public Works has sent out a memorandum with the expectation that the required daily cleaning task list is in fact taking place. If it isn't, and I will be checking in with the principals by Friday at the absolute latest, but these lists right here are straight from the memorandum that went out to the custodians to clean all desks, tables, countertops, sinks, and other hard surfaces. The notion that the custodians are going to clean every desk every day, especially at the high school and middle school, is simply not a reality. But the extent to which that they can get to it on a periodic basis, they hopefully will be providing us. I know that the high school received a delivery of some sanitation disinfectant materials. They have ordered, I don't know the particular brand, but they've ordered some tablets so that spray bottles, you pop the tablet into the spray bottle, like Alka-Seltzer or something along those lines, and we can ask and recommend that staff help to wiping down surfaces as well. The EPA has provided us with a list. We do have some concerns, however. If people are bringing in aerosols and spraying and cleaning and the like, there may be children with respiratory kinds of conditions as well. So that needs to be closely monitored, and to the extent to which DPW has ordered, and these things are backlogged, but has ordered materials which are designed for the purpose of disinfectant, and can also minimize any other auxiliary kinds of questions or concerns, hopefully that'll be the case. They've been instructed to clean and
And they
disinfect.
will be coming in tomorrow. 60's gonna be going to O'Malley School. They've got the high school, so it's coming in tomorrow. So you know.
Yeah,
What's
but-
the serve with this?
The hand sanitizer, disinfecting, all the other stuff. We have stuff to clean, but teachers ask for personal stuff for their rooms that it will be safe for everyone.
Clean and disinfect door handles, faucets, railings, and other frequently touched surfaces. Disinfect, clean bathrooms and health rooms. Use EPA-approved disinfectant to clean high-touch surfaces. They do that anyways. Clean surfaces thoroughly to remove all organic matter. Thorough cleaning with soap and water or a multi-purpose cleaner removes most microorganisms. Use disinfectants in a safe and effective manner to clean up potentially infectious materials and body fluid spills. Wash and disinfect bathroom fixtures, floors, and touch points with a neutral disinfectant cleaner. So my hope and expectation is that if this has not fully kicked into place at this point, that we monitor and ensure that the custodial staff is taking care of all that needs to be taken care of. As I mentioned, they are anticipating a shipment of sanitizer tablets and spray bottles for classrooms. We also need to wipe down some of the high contact areas in our buses as well, and we'll be notifying them as in addition. This is that particular link to the EPA list of acceptable products, cleaning products in schools. So we want to make sure that if anybody is bringing anything in addition to what the custodial staff is doing, that it's well within the EPA guidelines and is not relative, but is safe. And we need to provide or recommend disposable wipes for commonly used surfaces as well. So we'll try to make sure that we have those in place as quickly as possible. It goes without saying that maintaining ongoing communications with the school community is a must. I've already mentioned that I have sent off a letter last week and would like to get another one in by Friday, but I'll be putting that letter together based on this, sharing it with the health department, sharing it with the city and the PIO. I get the okay from them, and then I'll be sending it out. Sir?
To the point of the kind of monumental task to expect the custodial staff to be able to hit all this, I think they do it in some Scandinavian countries, they do it in some charter schools in this country, just kind of having students take some ownership of their classroom they're cleaning. I know I have a cousin who's a teacher in a nearby district, and she's been handing out a thing of Clorox wipes, and every day, every student's just been wiping down their desk, wiping down their seat at the end of the day. It takes 5 minutes, and that's one less thing that the custodians, and so I'm wondering, is there capacity in our district to put together some sort of brief protocol saying students of a certain age level are asked to kind of contribute, please encourage your students to do the following 3-minute exercise. It requires us to have supplies and to use, but
It, as you're inferring, it takes a village to clean the school.
Right, yeah.
And we'll be discussing this on Friday.
Right, okay.
Yeah, with the principals.
High school kids can wipe a desk now.
Yeah, well, elementary kids can as well, and probably have fun doing it.
Right.
Ongoing communications, try to provide information. I'm sure that, well, as in all cases, a lack of information, you can't get on top of it, quite frankly, but a lack of information only creates more anxiety. So given the filter system that's in place, I will try to get out something at least once a week in the foreseeable future. The cancellation or scheduling or not scheduling of public events that have not been scheduled at this point in time. We've kind of moved a little bit past that, and with the governor's declaration of a state of emergency, we certainly need to, and I think the next section is on field trips, so we can take those together. But we certainly need some consensus on field trips, and we need to think in terms of events, and that's something that we probably want to engage in some conversation in. Last sentence, what's going around is a near complete list of field trips that are scheduled and events. And there's another handout, I didn't bring it in, but it's of all of our athletic contests as well. We have no international trips planned, and obviously that those would be eliminated. And right now, we're in the process, anything that's going out of town, at this point, I'm saying no. There are tours of Boston tours in June, and at this point, the school committee has the jurisdiction to make a decision as to what they want to do, but it seems to me at this point in time with the declaration of state of emergency by the governor, the fact that we do not have any fully identified cases in the city suggests to me that if the field trip is to Maritime Gloucester, we shouldn't have a problem with that at this point in time. But if they're going to anywhere, Tufts University, North Shore Music Theater, it's unfortunate, Norwich University of Vermont, softball team to Florida, I think we need to err on the side of caution. And my recommendation is that my suggestion is that perhaps through May 1st and then revisit that the school committee suggests that any out-of-town trips at this point are canceled. And if we do have cases of coronavirus here in the city, then we're going to have to make some quick decisions as well.
I just want to ask my question before we move on to this part. When you said send out an email to middle school and high school, if there's if people are absent, so send out an email in addition to.
Yes.
Is there a reason why we wouldn't call them individually?
It depends on the numbers that are absent. How many were absent at the high school today?
I'm not sure, but we've had between 80 and 100 in the last 3 days.
Right.
Just at the high school.
Are you finding that people are responding to emails? I'm just.
Well, we haven't done that. Frankly, we do send out a robotic call that I don't know that we've, except in some cases, but we haven't done it in a systematic kind of way. We can certainly discuss it on Friday with the high school and middle school principal.
Yeah.
And they do have secretaries. They have to weigh and measure the conduct and everything that's going on in the school at the same time. But if this is a priority, it's something we have to look at pretty seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue it's a priority. I just think, we might need to make those phone calls, and if there's 80 to 100, I'll volunteer. I mean, it's just.
Excellent.
I do think, like, out of an abundance of caution, we do need to maybe change our behaviors a little bit. In addition to that, do we anticipate any issues accessing supplies? I know that the Clorox wipes are a different issue, but I tried to just go on to get toilet paper, and I couldn't get toilet paper. So I'm just.
Walmart.
What?
At Walmart.
Okay. So are we anticipating that there's going to be issues getting?
I think we heard Tuesday that in terms of paper supplies and the like, that we're in pretty good shape. The DPW is in pretty good shape. And on March the 18th, that aforementioned the tablets and sanitizers and cleansing agents, some have already gone out to schools, and I think March the 18th is when they are anticipating another shipment. But it probably will become increasingly more scarce.
Yeah.
We're going to have to wait and see.
So, I'd be interested to have a conversation, regarding these field trips that came up, because on the one hand, there's the issue of we don't know whether or not this is going to become problematic or not, and I guess what I'm trying to figure out is what's our role as a district. If, for instance, the softball team, despite all the stuff that's out there, wants to still go down to Florida. Do we as a school district say, hey, you can't do that? Or do we say, listen, we are advising you not to, but, you have this in place, and if you decide this, so what ability do we have to, what are we trying to do here? What level of control,
We have to approve any out-of-district,
Right.
out of state field trip, and we can approve it or disapprove it. Now, the issue about, we've already approved these.
What I'm trying to say is we usually approve them based on things like, is it appropriate? Is it educational? If they're gonna miss too much time in school, will they have enough chaperones? That sort of stuff, right? This is a different kind of criteria. You go, okay, listen, you're gonna get on a plane. You know what's gonna happen. We don't think you should get on a plane, but if you wanna get on that plane and you wanna go down there, and if you get sick, you can't come back to school because you're gonna be sick and you're gonna be home for 2 weeks. If you guys wanna do that, educationally, this is just as sound as it was a month ago, but now there's a risk, and those can.
I might be curious about what you're hearing, but what I've been reading is that if someone, we can create a rule that says you can't come back into our schools for 14 days, sick or not. So that's the problem. Someone comes back, some young, healthy person without any symptoms comes back. I think at this point, I think that with an abundance of caution, we would not be allowing them into our schools for the incubation period. So then they have an issue. First, they can be quarantined where they are. Second, we may have a rule, I might advocate for a rule that says, okay, if you make that choice to go in out of state, now you are now not allowed into the school for 14 days. Public health officials would decide what makes sense. But I think the role of, I think we do have a role now to protect our schools. And so people coming back into our schools from non-essential travel is a real concern.
I agree with what's been said so far. I think one thing that's important to me is I think whatever message comes out of our discussion tonight has to be consistent with what's going on in the rest of the world. For instance, Charlie Baker came out and said, we're under state of emergency. I know as a state worker, I've probably gotten 5 or 6 emails today. Any training I had in Boston, which I have 2 scheduled for next week, has been canceled. They're telling you stay in your hometown. They advise you don't get on a plane if you're a certain age or if you have immune system issues and things like that. So the messaging we're getting is stay home, stay safe, be aware of what you're doing. Don't stop, but at least not yet. But trying to control areas. So whatever we do, I would want to be consistent with that. I don't want to hear that I can't travel to Boston next week and do my training, but yet we're allowing our students to go to Tufts University, which is probably going to be closed down anyway because it's in Boston. So whatever we do, I just think needs to be consistent and safe for our students.
We just were on a conference call. No one is asking anyone to, the only thing we can't do that we ask the state unless they change is tell people that we're gonna do remote city council or school committee. So, but we do, and we can tell, ours is live, and we can say to people, you don't have to come to City Hall, but you can email a certain person, and it'll be public record. But everything, and I keep telling people, it's not if, it's when. And I know people saying, well, I lived through the Tsar, and I lived through this and this and that. I don't know, in my time, I've never saw a whole complete country go on quarantine. And since we don't have a whole bunch of cases here, but yet he's calling a state of emergency, because the fact is we didn't have the testing. There was no equipment to test people. So the fact is that now you can, and it still takes 2 to 3 days delay. So let's say these parents are gonna say, well, we're doing it, and they can't come back. Well, then you have to understand for those 2 weeks how you're gonna make up those classes. I'm not gonna put the teachers come after school ends so you can do your SATs or whatever has to be done. It's something that you have to decide. I told people already, and I sent out emails. For this week, it's your cautionary. For this week, I know some things can't be canceled. But they're saying, if you're in a room, and it's a small area, and it's more than a certain amount, and you can't go like this, don't go in. And they're canceling breakfast, lunches, and programs, and everything you can think of. And they already sent out things to the big companies, work at home. They're already telling them not to come in because they're 20 employees.
This is the governor's comments where it says field trips and large events, announced that executive branch employees should discontinue all out-of-state work-related travel, cancel conferences or hold them virtually, and not attend external work-related conferences, seminars, or events. While schools are not a part of the executive branch, the governor also urges employers and other large organizations to limit or eliminate non-essential travel and limit or eliminate large events where possible. Please review what field trips and events your district has planned. Each situation is unique, but we suggest you evaluate the risks in light of the growing number of coronavirus cases.
Well, and to the mayor's point, I also thought a lot of these might take care of themselves. You have to find a situation in which, again, the Tufts University, I can't imagine that by the 20th, Tufts is still going to be welcoming schools to come. I'm trying to BU at Harvard shut down, BU shutting down, I hear Northeastern's thinking about shutting down, so, again, that's not us canceling, it's us again saying, hey,
You know
we don't.
Florida's the state of emergency too.
You know, what I'm trying to say is we would say, hey, listen, these are still educationally sound field trips. There are health issues that we are advising this not to happen, but if for some reason the group still wants to go and the hosting facility is still holding it, is that on us to stop it?
Yes.
Kathy, you've been trying to.
So, also, if people want to go away, are we going to go so far as to say if people go away on April vacation, that they would not be allowed back in school?
That's what businesses are doing right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely, 2 weeks, stay home.
That's what
It's serious. You tell them if they go away on vacation, they have to quarantine themselves, quarantine for 2 weeks. That's what businesses are doing right now. That's what I have to do. You want to read my email? That's what it says. If I leave, I have to do that.
You'll find out. There's always a way that kid went over there, don't bring him, come on, I can find out.
Samantha?
I just feel, so like, this is a conversation I've had all day, right? Like, as a culture, we haven't had to sort of make decisions that benefit the greater whole very often, and this is one of them, right? Like, it's inconvenient, and we're so used to looking out for ourselves and doing what's convenient, but this is just has to change. Like, we just have to make the change, and yes, we do have to make hard decisions and just say, sorry, like, until we get more information, we need to just cancel events. That's my recommendation. I just think that we need to be cautious until we have more information.
Also, we have to look at this, because there's a lot of things we can and cannot do. This is our first time for everything, but my concern too is I asked other mayors, but it's up to the superintendent, and you have to send out an email. You have children who are in the free lunch program, okay? That's a major concern to me, because if they can't come to school, if we have to close down or quarantine the school or whatever, how are they gonna get their meals? In order for us to do, when we worked with the Open Door to do the brown bag lunches like they used to do, supply the families with food and stuff, we have to know who is free lunch. Some people might say that's my privacy. So now we have to find out from the food department, everyone who has free lunch, and ask them if we're allowed to give the Board of Health your information and to deliver food if there's ever a quarantine, because we're not even prepared for that. There's a lot of things we're not prepared for. So I think by calling the state of emergency, he's putting the fear in God of a lot of us, but he's saying, get ready. This is right now, we're lucky that it's not here. He's never saying it's not coming. It's not an if anymore, it's when. But we have so much to prepare because, like I said, we were on the conference call and I said, and we're going to do a lot of these things. See, we're different. We're unique in Gloucester. I said, I have 30,000 people. But I have, technically, if you count Denmark, 3 nursing homes, 1 Grace Center, 1 Action Shelter, 1 methadone clinic, 1 hospital. I said I have a Grace Center, I have senior center, senior care, what else is that? PACE. I have 6 senior project homes. I have 2 housing projects, which we have not even in the low income, Section 8 and all that. Only those are like 1,200 people, 475 are seniors. Then I have the day by day and your Meals on Wheels. There's a lot of things that you can't do. The home health aides, how are you going to get them in? How we're not going to do that? Open door, and we're telling people, if you're going to go buy extra toilet paper, can you buy an extra box of something and just send it down to the Open Door, because we're going to end up using that. And that's what, we were on the call. We're on the call. Some cities are asking, well, I don't have supplies. With 30,000 people and what we have in our city. And then I says, can I ask you something? What am I to do? And has anyone ever thought about it? If you're on methadone, you need that every single day. If they close that, those people are going through withdrawal. There's another place. I have people that, okay, if they're in the Action Shelter, and not Action, I'm not saying Action, erase that word. If they're homeless, and we know that they have it, and we have to quarantine them. But if they're an addict, do we have, I says, I don't have any quarantine rehabs, do I? Do I have that option? Where do I put them? So this here is, I call it a drill. May we never have no one that has it. But I'll tell you something right now. I started laughing because I've talked to all the doctors and stuff, and they're saying, because of the corona, so many people have been running, every cough and everything else, and we have more cases of the flu than we have ever, because no one's ever reported it. You don't feel good, you don't run to the doctors, but now people are running and we have all these people with flus too. So even if we don't get the corona, maybe never, but guess what? By washing your hands and doing what we should be doing, you're also preventing the flu from happening. But we also have to look at the rationality of what we have in Gloucester. And so please, get to your food services, get to those people, because you're gonna send them all information. Pippa.
Rich?
A quick one, I just want to piggyback on what Samantha said in talking about our desires, needs, and such, as opposed to the entire community. And part of the whole equation is to minimize the possibility that healthcare systems can be overwhelmed.
Right.
And if we're sending people all over the place, and kids come back from Florida, and they feel fine, but they've contracted the disease, it just adds to the potential that more people are going to get sick, and it just spirals, and the health system itself is going to be under, intense stress.
So back to the field trips. So I just want to know from it makes sense to me. I guess the question is, are you thinking if it's in Gloucester, because from what I'm understanding, it's probably already here. Like this idea that it's not here is sort of nonsense.
The health department refers to it as contact of a contact of a contact, and in those cases.
That, as far as we know.
Right.
As far as we know, nobody's testing.
Right.
So my question to you is, are you saying that maybe we allow things within Gloucester, trips within Gloucester, and not without? So Beverly would be too far, Ipswich would be too far, but within Gloucester,
Under the given conditions, that's my thinking right now. I don't know if I'm right or if I'm wrong, but there are no known cases here.
No, we have testing, and I'll tell you right now, no one's positive. We did several testing, it's negative, and one we tested and it still has to come back because it takes a few days to come back.
Do we know where the Essex County confirmed case is? Because there is one.
No, it didn't say on the paper.
Right, so, okay.
It's not in Gloucester.
No, it's not, and it's not where they, yeah.
So, fine, but pandemic means.
Yeah, absolutely, that's what I said, it's a drill, it doesn't come here, it's a drill for us, it's a learning experience.
So I'm just asking
We're ready.
where our guidelines.
Right, and I'm thinking on almost a weekly to bi-weekly basis. That if, as soon as the circumstances change, then your position, my position changes as well.
Every day it's changing, we get notices every day.
And to that point, are we gonna meet more often? Because it feels.
Or less often, right?
Or less, but what's our overall role in this? How much do you need from us to approve? Because I feel like we need to really, this is just like icing, like this is so little in compared to all these other things, like the free lunch program, like we have so much to cover.
Just so you know, I don't know what your
And every 2
protocol
weeks
is,
is
but
not gonna cut.
it's not up to the school committee to tell the superintendent what to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's why you pay him the money, that's why he's hired. That's why I know that he's not elected in the city council, but if he has to make an emergency status, he doesn't have to convene a meeting.
No, and that's what I'm wondering.
And I also want to add that I'm not moving a step until I've consulted with the health department.
Right.
And the health department's position at this point in time is this: if it's a contact of a contact of a contact and it's not in the town, there's a little bit of leeway where, as far as events are concerned. And I know this concern.
I think we need to start taking steps on this and decide whether, one, we're going to allow out-of-state versus in-state travel and make that decision. And then once we get to the in-state, or the in-city, I should say, not in-state, decide what our protocol could be. In other words, we could agree tonight that we will allow anything that is happening in Gloucester to continue. However, we all know this is a numbers game. Everyone's looking at the numbers, who's contracted, in what community, how fast is it going. That's how we went from state of emergency, because it went from 42 to 90 overnight, it doubled. So a lot of the city leaders are looking at numbers to make decisions, and we can do that same thing here. We could decide tonight that we're going to allow in-city gatherings and let the kids continue to do all the things that they like to do within Gloucester, knowing things are still safe around here. However, if Board of Health comes out or the mayor comes out and says, okay, we have 3 cases, that's a problem. Then we can say, or even 1, whatever, and then we can say, as soon as we get that first or second or third, now this is gonna be stopped. We don't even have to meet again to do it. We can set guidelines and give authority of how we can foresee this happening. It's coming. Someone here is going to get it. It's how prepared we are. And I think the decision we make tonight can cover us not having to meet again. In other words, no out of state if that's what we decide, or in city only. Once a case is reported, now we're concerned.
But with that said, if something just falls off the shelf and an emergency meeting is necessary,
Oh, you
we
can
wouldn't hesitate to do that either.
Yeah. Well, leave it up to the Board of Health, let them make the decision. They make the decision
I'm sorry to
anyway.
repeat it, but that's my mantra.
Right.
Everything is gonna be done in
What
concert
about
with what.
sports events coming here?
Let's stick with field trips and then we'll move on to.
Or do we have any that come here?
Yeah.
But we're
Yeah,
in
we
between
do.
seasons right now, so we've got a little bit of a grace period.
So that's, you know,
Well, thank God you just proved esports, because they're gonna be right here.
so again, it's still, I'm still struggling with how this protocol is going to really be effective at actually at any sort of containment. So again, no, let's say no, the West Parish School can't go to North Shore Music Theater on March 26th, but you know, students could still be at the North Shore Music Theater on the, you know, next week or the week after, right? So like, you're not preventing whatever at the North Shore Music Theater from getting into our schools. You're just preventing this class from going to this event, right?
That's our responsibility.
You know, you can't go out of state on a field trip, but you're not saying, you know, you can't go out of state.
Joel, what we're doing is minimizing the exposure, okay? We don't have any control over the kids at home, when they're home with their parents. If they go to the North Shore Music Theater, they go to the North Shore Music Theater. But what we're doing is cutting it down, the exposure down. And from everything I've read, you know, it's coming, there's no stopping it. But it could be a curve like this, or it could be a curve like this, of how, and the steps to take to minimize it are the steps that we can take. And that's what I think we need to do.
We're being told right now to socially distance ourselves.
Right.
Now, we're sitting a little bit farther away tonight than we usually do.
And
So,
we're gonna talk about our future meetings, and we're gonna talk about, you know, all these things, but.
We canceled, the power play.
Yes, that's right.
We canceled the power play, the chamber canceled the event, the seniors all wanna choke me, I canceled their bingo. I said, I'm serious, I called up also the Catholic Church.
and you can't get in the nursing homes, I found out today.
No,
Because of
then
the
we have,
mother-in-law.
I'm serious, because the fact is, those are my seniors. And so, it's not a large enough room. So, if they hear that, well, then why, because I'm old, or because I'm this? So I says, look, right now, I'm taking it this way. Next week, if it changes,
Right.
then I will come back and say one time a week, but I have to see what's gonna happen. I can't say what's gonna happen in June. I don't know when the softball team wants to go, but as of right now, I don't expect, nobody should be going back and forth in the month of March anywhere. Because that is just your testing time. And then in April, and I said it to people, I know that people have had events and they're happening but you know what? I want to go, and I go to everything. I'm not going. I'm not gonna jeopardize myself either, because then I'll be a carrier. And then I will have all of you sick. And that's my concern is, I may not get sick, but I can be a carrier without any symptoms.
So I guess to wrap this up then, but my concern is, I don't wanna say, hey, West Parish, you can't go to the Stones do it at the end of May, right tonight. I say, right now, it looks like you can't, if things are the same way, but I wanna make sure there's some flexibility.
Every month we'll be looking at them, every day.
Or maybe that's looking at it,
Yeah.
some sort of blanket authorization to the superintendent to, you know, for us.
But you also wanna give the classroom time to get their money back.
I was gonna say reimbursement.
Reimbursement, make other plans, schedule a different time, and to see what they need to do. I mean, it's like, like we kept saying.
But people are buying prom dresses right now, just tell them to buy a prom dress, like.
Well, prom's gonna be here, hopefully.
Yeah, if Corona's here in June, then.
Well, if Corona's here in June, you think they're gonna care about a prom dress?
Okay, all right, let's one at a time.
You know what, if
So,
I didn't eat, I wouldn't be fat either, but I am.
No, I'm just curious, like, how far are we going?
Let's have a discussion on it.
Way over, let's take one day at a
All right,
time.
so, do you,
Out of state.
what?
Yeah, start with out of state.
Yeah.
Out of state.
Start there.
So what do we have for out of state? Let's start with out of state.
Well, I would say that we,
Is it just Florida and New York and the two that are on tonight?
the two that are on tonight.
DC.
DC, the 8th grade trip to Washington DC.
And when is that?
Fifth grade nature's classroom.
Nature's Classroom, correct?
May?
Yeah,
DC then this month.
because like you said, there is one, we don't know, they're not letting us know what city or town. There's
Well,
one
right-
in Essex County, how do we know where they are?
Right now, they're allowing
They're not.
allowing cancellations and refunding money. So if there was ever a time to cancel a trip, tonight would be the night to do it so that there could be refunds on the airfare.
They're not letting us know.
And Washington DC has coronavirus.
I would,
Yeah, but no one's gonna shake this.
okay, I think
It's just-
we got a lot more to talk about. I mean, there's events, there's sporting events. Let's focus on field trips right now, and we make.
The sporting events, all the, like the superintendents with this plan, his AD director should call them up and say, what are the other schools doing? I mean, you know what it is? I mean, are they gonna come here and if they have to go to the bathroom, they have to shower, they have to do this, what kind of sports, whatever.
You're absolutely right. We're not the only ones.
No, it's the same thing. We just heard us, we talked to the congressman, which is our representative around here, and then tomorrow the mayor's, and he's working with the superintendents, we're all dealing with this, and we're all gonna do the same exact thing.
But I think some people need direction tonight, particularly people that are making plans for April vacation, which is right around the corner, as well as some of these field trips so
we have Washington DC on March 31st to April 2nd. I'm looking just at out-of-state ones. Then we have Nashville, Tennessee in April.
New York City.
New York
New York
City.
City, the
And
two.
those are the two that run
Yeah, New
tonight.
York City's already been canceled, that you could vote on tonight.
Yeah, we,
Canceled.
I didn't get notification on that. The Docksiders were canceled in New York?
It's, yes.
Oh,
It should have been. There's a state of emergency.
So we should decide on that. DC,
all right, we should make a motion.
So we make it all these fun places.
If you want to put a timeline on it, I would say till the end of April, that we cancel all out-of-state field trips.
so moved.
Second.
Ugh.
Okay.
So we'd still allow the in-state out of
Well,
town.
we incrementally, let's,
You might want to put it to May 2nd because of the national.
Yeah,
okay, May 2nd, all right. Okay, so the motion is that we cancel all, or cancel our approval of all out-of-state field trips, beginning immediately until May 2nd. And it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, now, what about,
Out of the city?
you know, there's a number of Boston field trips on here. Most of them are later in the year, most of them are in
Well,
June.
there's Tufts and North Shore Music Theater that are coming up right now,
Okay.
and Ipswich River Sanctuary.
Next week.
Oh, it's a
So it looks like April 3rd is the last one before May. So maybe we just, which is only 3 weeks from now,
North Shore Music
4
Theater.
weeks from now.
So there's Ipswich River Sanctuary.
Still outdoors?
Yeah, I was gonna say, that doesn't scare me as much as Tufts University.
Oh, Tufts, yeah.
North Shore Music Theater.
North Shore Music Theater.
It's cold in
Yeah.
When is that one? What date was that one?
March 19th.
But it's the traveling and getting there and who's there and all
Well,
that. That's,
they'll go on our buses.
Where's this place, where are you going?
Ipswich River Sanctuary, it's up, you know, the Ipswich River is partly in Topsfield and partly in Ipswich.
Which jurisdiction are these? I'm just asking.
What?
The field trips that are in-state.
It's yours.
Mm.
It's yours. I mean, they don't require,
yes.
these do not require our approval.
Yeah, and you have to look at it this way. It's yes for one, a no for all. You can't pick and choose, because then you're gonna say they're not sure, well, what, we're not,
that's why
thinking, we're not sanitized, because someone's outside or someone's inside or whatever. But the fact is, you have to put a standard.
So
I did that to my employees. Like I said to you, I'm sorry you have a career center, but my employees are not coming.
When is that April school committee meeting? April
The
7th?
eighth.
We have one the
I
first
think it's
and,
the eighth.
and the 8th and the school vacation, and a school vacation.
If this is Dr. Sapphire's jurisdiction, why don't we just?
That's what I was gonna say, was I would like to make a motion that we instruct Dr. Sapphire to, in conjunction with the
Board of Health.
Board of Health, review all field trips between now and May 2nd, and at his discretion, cancel as he sees necessary.
Second.
Is that what you want?
Yeah, I'm probably, at least up until a particular point in time, anything that's out of town, I'm probably going to cancel.
Okay.
You know, maybe till the end of vacation, April vacation.
That's why I was asking when we meet in April, because I figured we
Yeah.
could revisit.
And
Mhm.
revisit, exactly.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we have the issue of events. And the,
Does that fall to us?
well, the only one coming up is the National Honor Society induction.
So we postpone it instead of canceling it?
Who's coming, I mean, the National Honor Society, that's at the auditorium, nobody ever shows up. So it's not like you're in a confined place with 100 people. Most that ever show up to that is 20 people. No offense to the people.
I don't know that's accurate. For
We have people come, the
NHS,
parents come and stuff.
all parents come to
Yeah.
the
Parents might come from.
I have pictures of it.
I don't know what audience you were looking at last time.
Well, anyways,
The
the
mayor plays a
question
very
is,
large
do we
crowd.
want to give the
I think
superintendent
we
some
have to,
discretion
yeah.
But yeah,
about,
he'll find out, do
about
it.
events and sporting
And
events?
I will keep you notified as.
Because this is going to be a change, things are going to change every day.
Right.
Can I just have a question? So I'm fine with this, I just want to know, because I'm receiving messages from parents saying, you know, when are we calling off major events? Because, you know, it seems appropriate. So is what we're doing saying that Dr. Sapphire now has the choice with these upcoming school events at all the schools to decide, no, we're not gonna do that? I mean, I'm
Yeah.
fine with that, I just wanna be clear about what we're deciding, or what we're advising.
Well, that's what we're talking about,
Okay.
is, should we do that? Melissa?
I would just ask, and I'm pretty sure I heard it from your mouth, but I can't hear it too good tonight, that any messaging about canceling anything that you're deciding comes in conjunction with the Board of Health. So in other words, it's not Dr. Sapphire that's canceling it, it's in conjunction with the Board of Health.
city, the Board of Health, exactly.
Exactly, as a
I will stand
whole.
by him.
That's how the messaging should be consistent, that it's not just one person making this decision, it's in the best interest of Gloucester, the students, the families.
And you think Dr. Sapphire wants to be blamed for canceling the musical all on his own?
It's killed for snow days.
But, given the circumstances as they stand today, the more homogeneous the group, meaning that it's exclusively people who are residents and live in Gloucester, the more likely it would be that we would have that particular function.
Right.
And the smaller, the more likely we would have that function.
Until if and when
Somebody has.
Gloucester is hit.
Correct.
But just, so, but then their aunts and uncles and grandparents come to the play
That may be
from
true.
Boston, like,
That may
Yes,
be-
but that would be a bigger group.
there's,
In other
there's
words-
a middle, there's an elementary school play,
This Friday.
and, right, this
And then
week
next week from my
at
grandmother.
Beaman, and so the grandparents come from Boston, or from Dorchester, or from, I mean, like, or from, there's no controlling it when there's a
The only thing
crowd.
we're controlling, and we always did it, was the teachers who live out of town. And they know they have to sanitize whatever, but the fact is, like I said, are you gonna do these, are we gonna do them? So, the only thing that I'm mandated to do is the city council has to have a city council meeting. Because they didn't change the charter yet to say that they can't. And if they do it, if they want to do it virtual or whatever, it's considered open meeting law, so we're waiting for the governor's response.
You understand what
I
I'm
No one
saying?
knows anything.
I mean, just because the federal government is handling this, doesn't mean that we have to, right? Like, so, like, that's what I'm,
So, you know, the end game is that everything on this list is canceled. That's the end game.
Until,
until further notice.
I mean, if that's a consensus coming from the school committee, I'd like to know.
So again, I'm gonna push back on the health department and see what their recommendation is. I don't think we're essentially qualified.
Right.
I mean, we have the ability and authority to make.
we've
those
said
decisions.
this, anyone that, more than, like the library,
Yeah.
if you have a small confinement and there's more than 25 people, it's canceled. Because you don't know who's coming, who's breathing, who's what. Any small, if it's a big area and you can reach out and there's spacious, then you can, but no more than 25 people. We canceled everything. I can't even have people who already have events for this, they won't cancel. And I don't right now have that authority yet.
What is the date? Like, are you saying cancel indefinite right now, or are you gonna reevaluate in April? I don't know that.
Every day we're evaluating, because I have you have the, right now, a big event happening this weekend at the Elks. And that's 150 to 200 people. And my veterans is Welcome Home Veterans on Sunday morning. Another 150 to 200 people. But you know what? We had to tell people who were from from certain places,
But my question is, what are you doing for events, say, 3 weeks away from now, or a month? April 15th, are you canceling today?
Right now, we told everyone that you should plan to be, everyone who has, I said for this week,
Yeah.
I can't cancel. Everyone else, we canceled.
So you canceled things in April and May?
And right now, we asked, this is what we asked. We asked Cape Ann Chamber. We asked the churches. If you have the place of worship, worship. But don't have extras. Don't have your potlucks. Please don't have your little bake sales. Please don't have all these other things where they gather and stand and read and whatever. Please don't do that. A place of worship, leave. And you know what? They're changing the way they worship too. They're making sure people, you know, don't touch, don't do this. The whole thing, no host, no peace, no nothing. And they change it, and they're all that. And they get their orders from the Archdiocese or wherever, because the fact is, you have people who do come around and come to here to worship. And you're not gonna throw them out, but you know what? The extra activities, there's no need to.
So my question for some of these events is just the financial impact. So take the two big dances. You have the Mad Hot Ball on May 3rd and you have the prom on June 5th, right? People right now, they haven't already, are starting to decide whether, you know, for Mad Hot Ball, they're getting their son or daughter, you know, dress clothes for this event. Same thing, prom, people are buying their renting their prom tuxes, buying prom dresses. The senior class has already put a deposit down. They have to decide whether they're going to make the second deposit or not. And so it's tricky. Some of these, you know, if you don't cancel it soon enough, funds will be expended and then lost. On the flip side, if you cancel them, and then this goes better than expected, and oh, look at this, you know, it was rough in March and early April, but by mid-May, we kind of recovered as a society. Isn't that a real shame to cancel?
But maybe this is leverage for those groups to have a conversation with the place they're that's hosting them, and maybe there's some flexibility in terms of cancellation.
There's a letter generated by the Mass Association of School Superintendents going out to vendors asking just that due to this exceptional circumstances.
Like, do you want to lose your
whatever your
business completely, or do you want
refund
to be?
policies are, can you re-examine them?
Yeah, right.
But you have to figure these businesses, right? If you're a function hall, you're not getting booked for anything right now. And say that you know, they're probably more desperate than ever to have to use whatever ability they have to hold a deposit, right? I mean, they're gonna get creamed also.
That's really not our problem.
Well, the problem's our problem, right?
Yeah, but can we support, like, the student council to write a letter and ask for some leniency on
Well, first of all, you're worried about May.
Like,
Can we take March and a little bit of April first, please?
Yeah.
You know what?
Because wouldn't it be a shame if our parents go out and spend all this money in preparation for an event that then gets canceled, and they go, you know, it would have been great if you had told us back in February we were going to cancel Mad Hot Ball before.
Would it be a shame if I'm sending flowers for their funeral?
No, what I'm saying is, if we don't cancel it in advance and they go and they spend all this money and they go, hey, yeah, sorry, you know, senior banquet's canceled. You go, well, great, I'm glad I got, you know.
So to follow through with that, think about this. Mad Hot Ball is so important to fifth graders, and they're dancing right now, they're learning and they'll love it. The prom is coming, that's important. They're gonna buy dresses. Maybe it's canceled in May, but maybe they could have it in July and August, you know what I mean? So I'm not too worried about focusing now on March and April and seeing what happens. I don't think I'm ready to go to May, because I'm hoping whatever's coming is gonna come quick and leave.
You know, if you're doing the Madhouse Ball and you say to people, I'm sorry, we can't, if you have any grandparents or any family that lives, we will send you a clip of it. Have it for their parents. You can have certain things for us that we're doing it. Because they practice, they want to. They're going to dance with their dad or mom or whatever, grandparent. Allow one like we did graduation when it used to rain. If the senior is right here in Danvers, then it's up to the school saying, this is their prom, you have your dresses, it's worse than it is. You're no limousines, no nothing. You're taking our buses, we're going to drive you, we're chaperoning, and we're going to make sure that place is clean because we want to see Danversport or whatever, that they did that cleaning. And back on our buses back home. If they don't like it, then you're not there for the prom. I'm not worried about the prom right now.
All right,
I
let's,
feel like we're in the
let's,
weeds. Can we, sorry,
yeah,
can I say
let's,
one thing?
okay.
I feel like we're in the weeds a little bit about this. Could we just ask, in relation to these big events that are coming up in May or June, for them to reach out to the vendor and figure out what the flexibility is, right? And if they come back and they say, there's absolutely no flexibility, then we have a bigger issue on our plate and we make a decision that is informed and not emotional, right? Like right now, there's just no information. We don't know. So what right now is important is until May 2nd. If we just canceled all travel until May 2nd, then maybe.
First of all, if this is state of emergency, that's totally different. They're going to have to do something. So the governor's going to have to come up with something if it gets worse and continues the state of emergency. Now, if he lists the state of emergency, then it's all go. Then we take it as it is. But as a state of emergency, you have to get reimbursed. You have to do these things. It's a state of an emergency. The fact is, we wait for the governor or anyone else to find out, you know what, these vendors, because I'm not worried about their vendors, because guess what? If there is a state of emergency and no one's bringing in, they're not going to have the food in these halls. They're not going to have the supplies in these halls. They're not going to have all of that in these places. I'd like to see certain things that we can do here that we know that it's clean for the children or whatever. You know, if we had to, and they really had their proms, you know what? Guess what? I think we all know how to cook. I think we know how to dance. You open that damn field house.
And they will love it.
So
It's better than nothing.
what we need to do is give the director,
You don't have to spend $1,000 on a dress and go up Danversport. Let's open the field house. Let's have a spaghetti. They just wanted to say their prom and look at do the promenade.
What we need to do is give the superintendent some instructions about events. This is really.
I thought we already did.
You got the message, right?
Yeah.
Just to work in consultation with the health department to make the decisions. Knowing what I know in terms of our conversations, their position is going to be that we don't have coronavirus here now. So in the short term, it's okay. I'm putting words in their mouth, but I bet you they'll say it's okay to go ahead for the short term with the events that are in town, locally town.
There's other forces driving this, it's gonna work itself out. Either gonna get it or we're not.
Yeah.
So the next issue that I'd like to bring up is our meetings.
Wait, do we decide on the sports?
Events, sports.
Oh, he's doing the same thing.
Yeah, sports is a wait and see.
Yeah.
But there needs to be some consensus or what we look as far as just advanced. Again, we have, you know, a real working class society here. And some of these events, even just for parents to take a night off, impacts them, you know, in a serious capacity. And so it's again one of those things. If these things are going to be canceled, there needs to be some lead. I'm not saying cancel them tonight or cancel them this month, but if something is going to be canceled, canceling a Thursday event on a Monday, you know, there's real negative repercussions for some of these families who have planned for that Thursday to be an event, and they otherwise wouldn't have made sacrifices, you know. So I just hope there would be some sort of.
It seems to me that there's probably going to be a communication that says certain things are canceled across the district, and we are taking a wait-and-see approach on the upcoming events. And people then are on notice that their event could be next. So I think that is a message enough. If I were a parent, I would say, I'm probably not shopping until the Monday before an event, or 2 weeks before an event, as it becomes more evident.
And the point about expediting notification is what I think.
And to that point too, parents are just as concerned as we are. They're not, it's not like they want their kids to go into a situation where it could be unsafe, so they're gonna be understanding. If they buy a dress, but then weigh the chances of getting coronavirus, the dress is, the value is not gonna be that big a deal. We all want the same thing, which is our kids to be safe.
So we're meeting again in 2 weeks. So we'll be talking about this again, I'm sure, that in 2 weeks, things will have changed substantially. What I was gonna say is I looked at the City Hall and to find out the availability of Cairo's auditorium, which is much larger for our meetings. And it's not available, it is available for the 24th. It's not available for our public hearing on the budget, the 1st, or if we were to have a meeting on the 15th. But other than that, it's available for all of the rest of this school year's school committee meetings. So it would be the 1st and the 15th that we might think about. But I would suggest that we move our school committee meetings to Cairo's auditorium, which gives people the opportunity to view the meeting live without being there.
I thought we had talked about the high school the last time we talked about this.
Yeah, we did, and perhaps for the 1st and the 15th, we go to the high school.
So in wake of the coronavirus, what
Yeah.
you're saying
Right,
is
isn't
that
it?
we would like a live option.
The
So
live
we've sort of
option.
switched
Oh, because
us.
you want us to be a part.
In a large
Yeah.
room.
Yeah,
Got it,
yeah.
sorry.
So,
Yes.
and that also people can watch live.
Yes.
I was mistaken as
Without
to where you
having
had
to
it.
have to be in there. And there's a big auditorium, so
Okay.
people aren't crammed together
Okay.
so it's just spread out. It's a arm length thing, okay? So without objection, I will arrange that.
And just for clarification, the rule is you have to have a physical quorum present for any other members and then remote in. It's like at least 4 of us have to be in the same room
Right.
together, in the advertised space
So
together.
if one of us is sick, the rest of us is here, we can.
Right. So, right, up to, there's 7 of us, up to 3 of us could be in quarantine and still be able to function remotely as long as the other 4 are able to make it in person.
But as the mayor said, they're reviewing that, right?
Yeah.
Because we might
Right.
have to. All right.
Part 2?
Part 2? There's more?
Yeah, part 2. I'll go extremely quick.
Okay.
Just say, hopefully you've read it, but
What-
there's also an audience as well.
Before we move on, can I just ask, are we gonna have a discussion about what the schools are gonna do for families that travel during vacation?
Well, what would our options be? To quarantine them? They'd have to self-quarantine and say, oh, I've gone out of state and I'm
So
not.
many businesses right now are saying if you travel out of the country, you cannot come back to work or to wherever you are for 2 weeks. But they're not necessarily saying self-quarantine, because I don't know that they have the authority to say self-quarantine, but what they're saying is you can't come back to work. You're not exposing what we have under our control, those who've gone and traveled out of country for 2 weeks to see if any symptoms come. They say airports are one of the worst places. It's not the plane, it's sitting waiting for the plane. That's where the most infected areas are. If we have kids that are traveling, it doesn't matter where they're going, they're still in an airport where other people have traveled. Do we want to consider making some sort of regulation on whether kids can come back for the first 2 weeks if they travel out of country?
So that seems like a great thing to go right to the health department with and say, this is, what is your recommendation? And we go with that. I mean,
In addition, we also need to go to our attorney and find out what legal right we have to do what we need to do. But I'll certainly be publicizing.
The Board of Health has jurisdiction over all of us,
Everything,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good.
right, and so I think
including me and you.
I think your initial thing, that all messaging is gonna come in coordination and approval from the PIO and the Department of Health is incredibly important. And I think we are gonna have to just rely on the Board of Health, knowing that, whatever that decision is, parents might also start making decisions about their children and whether or not they're in the schools or not.
But I do want to certainly advertise in the next letter or so to please refrain if you can.
I mean, travel is changing. There may not be flights to take. So this is all changing very quickly.
Good. So part 2 does have information about the temporary dismissal of school or schools, actions to take if an ill student or staff member attends school prior to being confirmed. There's information about that, and again, all of this is in conjunction, once again, with the health department, working with local officials, as you just described it, communicating the possible COVID-19 exposure. If students or staff return to schools, what additional steps are needed for the school community? If they're dismissed, if school's out, all of our extracurriculars are out as well. I don't know how we can enforce the next one to discourage students and staff from gathering or socializing anywhere. And then the next piece, which is important to us, of course, is how to seek and ensure the continuity of education through distance learning. I'm not going to go through it now, but we do have a draft plan here for what's referred to as extended closure. We'll be discussing that at length with the principals on Friday as well. And even if we have to provide some professional development sometime in the near future on Google Classroom, for example, as the medium through which learning can go through, then we'll consider doing that.
I just have one question about that. How are we going to ensure sort of equity? Because not everybody has access to computers.
There is a, we can't guarantee everything. There is and will be offered, Comcast will offer internet access at home for $10 a month. And we're going to have to also work with the public library and any other places we can think of to inform folks that there is available internet access. Go to the library, or if there are other places that we can provide for them.
But will we penalize kids that don't have access to that?
Yes.
Just making sure.
Well, we'll think about it.
Okay.
No, there's, the answer, of course, is no.
Yeah.
The extent to which we're going to effectively be able to teach K through 2 is questionable.
Right.
But we at least would like to establish a framework where teachers are available, just like college professors have their hours, maybe between 10 and 11:30 and between 1:30 and 3 during the day, where kids can go in and communicate with them. That the teachers can keep track, as they would with any homework assignments. If they're virtual, they're online, if they're keeping track of that. And then perhaps most importantly is how do we train our teachers to provide work online, which is interesting for kids. Some have a lot of experience at it, some do not. So how can we raise all boats in terms of what it is that we're offering the kids to work on? So there's no small amount of things to do.
Right, no, I'm sure not.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept the superintendent's report?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. The next item on the agenda is the formation of an ad hoc communications subcommittee to the school committee. And we have been provided with some information about, yes, please do.
So Samantha and I have discussed the need for this, and we, I think Sam was given the advice that we come up with some really sort of solid deliverables that can have end dates. So that's what we've done here. I've also had a conversation with our ID department, and we've identified a few things that we thought would be the way to start. And you can see those on your list, which I'm pulling up. First is creating a Gloucester School Committee Facebook page where we can control news going out from the school committee. One, we would have to have obviously some policies around posting on that. And one of the important pieces of that would be that is not a place where people can be communicating with us. There would just have to be an automated response saying, you want to communicate with the school committee, here's our address, here's our email address. I don't know if you want to, or,
I'll wait until after.
Okay. Then the IT, we have access to Google Suite, and there's a lot of differences in what people know about how to use Google Suite. So training on Google Suite for all of us, and then the establishment of a calendar that we can all access and use and know as our central calendar, at least for our meetings, separate from posting, just so that we all know what's happening. And also a drive space for documents. Now again, this could be the same as the one that's happening from the city site, but a place where we can access documents that are organized and accessible, that we don't have to go back into old agenda packets to find information. And then the third was looking into whether we could find a pro bono professional communications person or public relations person to sort of look at our needs and give us the beginnings of some kind of a strategy and how we communicate from the school committee and from the schools with all of our different stakeholders. So that was where we started.
I just want to speak to the Facebook page, because I know people have said the Gloucester Public Schools have a Facebook page, but we have no sort of control as a school committee to get our information specific to like our agendas out to the community. And I feel like that puts us as individuals a little bit at risk to try to communicate information from the school committee on our personal Facebook pages. And then therefore we're bombarded with comments and tagging, asking, people want us to answer questions. And I mean, I've had this conversation with some of you that I feel like it's taking the onus off of the community to actually go through the proper channels of calling us or emailing us, right? So like government is not actually functioning because people are just tagging you on Facebook and saying, I asked you a question. That's not appropriate. That's not the right way to communicate with the school committee. So I think this will help us deliver the information and put up a response that says, if you have questions for the school committee, please email these email addresses or call these phone numbers or whatever the response is. So that's sort of the, at least in my opinion, the justification for that. It takes a little bit of personal use of our Facebook off of us.
Well, do you know, realizing using your personal Facebook to answer anything, you just opened it up for the...
And I usually don't, but people tag,
Oh,
and then they just tag and tag and tag.
And that's a good thing, because the fact is we've got public records requests for people's texts, screenshots, anything you can think of. You have to be now very careful.
Yeah, so I think this would help us as a committee to really follow the rules on how to communicate with constituents.
And to be communicating information more regularly and consistently, so there's a place to look. Because the website, and all credit to Grant, and but it's hard to find things on it. It's just hard. It just is.
Just make sure it's protocol, and just make sure that it can go with IT and all the stuff and everything that we have.
Yeah.
Because the fact is, it's also difficult. We're working on a new website.
I know you are.
And it because people now want to do that, so we can say the same thing, because they do. They'll tag 7 city councils at one time.
Yeah.
And someone today, I'm getting an argument back and forth because, well, you deleted it. Did you send me a private message? Did you do this? Did you do that? Well, Facebook is not the only reserve.
Right. It's just not.
So just so we know, I text we're all arguing, I text the Board of Health. And the Board of Health, because tomorrow we're having a thing, she says, look, you cannot stop people from traveling if they go on vacation. It's up to them at the risk that they're taking. We cannot, at this time, tell anyone they can self-quarantine unless they leave the country. They should, people should know what's happening. You don't want to be in an airport at all. Are they driving to their grandmother's in New Hampshire or wherever they may be going? But so, and I asked her, I says, flying is the high risk. Airport's not, don't go to the hot spots. I mean, people know what's happening. They shouldn't be going to hot spots. Then if they do and someone gets sick, I says, what happens and what are you going to do? So she is going to talk to you tomorrow and concentrate. How about all the stuff that we're doing in the schools right now? Grandparents coming in, she says, well, and I asked her, we don't even know in Essex County, because we know Norfolk, Minnesota, there is people, so hopefully they won't travel there, but what happens in Essex County that we don't even know this place where it could be Beverly, it could be, it doesn't matter, we're big, it could be in Drake. Where do we draw the line saying that these children shouldn't be going to these field trips, or these people shouldn't be coming here, or should we, I said it, she says, first of all, in 2 weeks this all could change totally different.
Yeah.
So don't over exaggerate, don't put a panic on what the kids can do or whatever. your major things, like the Washington trip, the New York trip, all of those major things. Anything out of state, really, especially when you're going as a group, that's more of a high risk. Other ones, like individual parents, that's their risk, hopefully, unless they're leaving the country. And she says it can change tomorrow. Every day there was something we're waiting for. And what does she say here? Families really are going interstate. They're not really traveling. The Department of Ed recommended all out-of-state school trips be canceled today immediately. So that's Department of Ed. That's
all what?
all state school trips, out of state school trips. Yeah, all, and it doesn't matter who, what, all of them canceled. And so that's that. And so the Department of Ed said it, the Department of Public Health. So as far as the softball team, I don't know what that date is, but right now it's canceled. So, but as far as like the little plays that we're having, like you said, like, what, she says we're gonna discuss it tomorrow. You're gonna need to talk with her tomorrow.
What's the fifth grade thing we did? Let's cancel it out of state.
Yeah. So getting back to the ad hoc communications subcommittee, what is your vision of who's on this?
I mean, at least us two, for
Okay.
sure.
I don't mind helping out.
Well, it would seem to me that there would be some people from the administration on this as well.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because it's, you wouldn't be working in a vacuum, it'd be.
Yeah, yes. for
There's
sure.
some compliance and regulatory things that we have to make sure we
Yeah.
stay
Yeah.
on top of as well, so.
Yeah.
Hey, sounds like we're establishing an ad hoc.
Okay, so and I would say that also that if we come up with more deliverables in the course of the future, that we can add that on to their task. And so I'll make a motion that the school committee authorizes an ad hoc communications subcommittee proposed, as proposed, with the deliverables as stated, and it be made up of 3 school committee members and 2 people from the main office.
Second, if that's a motion.
Yeah, that was motion.
You don't have to make a motion if it's an ad hoc.
I know you just appoint the chair.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
But if you want us to approve your appointment, we can.
Okay. All right, well, yeah, I do.
Okay.
Just to make sure we're all
We're
on
all
the same
aboard.
page. Okay. So, is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous, and I will appoint Samantha Verger and Laura Oysen, Melissa Texera, Greg Bach, and Grant Harris to form the ad hoc. Okay. All right, moving on. It's, we've still got a couple of big things to do, like the budget and the district improvement plans.
And the articles of agreement to the North Shore Education Consortium.
Well, that should be easy. Okay, if we were going to put something on hold, it would be the district improvement plan, I think, this evening until the next meeting. But let's keep pushing forward. And the articles of agreement with the North Shore Education Consortium, we approved these a while ago, like 2.
Not this year.
Not.
That was probably the annual report that you're referring to.
Yeah, okay.
There are some amendments here to the Articles of Agreement, and it's on the cover page. One is Pentucket Regional School District wants to join as a member and have the benefits of membership dues and all the rest. That would bring the total number of districts, I think, to 22. The second has to do with amending the language that the composition of the board of directors would be superintendents only. In practice, that's the way it has been. The board voted unanimously, there's consensus that the governance now has been very positive, collegial, it's worked well. They would simply like to memorialize in the Articles of Agreement that the board is composed of superintendents. And then the third has to do with districts, board members that may not be attending. And if somebody, because they need a quorum for voting on things, obviously, just like any other body. And if a particular district or superintendent is not showing up, then a letter would go out to the superintendent asking for an explanation and how they're going to remediate the situation within 30 days. If they don't receive something within 45, the letter then goes to the school committee chair. If the board itself is not satisfied, or if there hasn't been a redress of the situation, then they would lose their, they would become a non-voting member as opposed to a voting member at that point in time. So those are basically the three amendments. Everything else is fairly consistent with the articles. These three emendations, amendments I guess I should say, they're not necessarily improvements, have been reviewed by the Department of Education and approved as well.
Okay. So we need a motion for discussion.
I move that we approve the North Shore Education Consortium amended Articles of Agreement.
Second.
Okay. Discussion? Questions?
Did you say these were reviewed by the attorney, our attorney?
Our attorney, no, their attorney,
Their
yes.
attorney, but not our attorney?
Correct.
And the Department of Education.
And the Department of Ed.
Okay.
What do you think personally about the edits? That make sense to you?
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I don't. Why shouldn't somebody else go? It's important.
Right.
I mean, our most vulnerable kids are there, and there are decisions that have to be made, not the least of which is budget and ensuring that they provide the necessary services and stuff. It's not that tough a gig. It's a Wednesday morning once a month from 8 o'clock to 9:30.
And we have 40 kids there? Close to it.
I don't know the exact number, but we have a significant number of students. And there are various different schools, of course. Fran was here, Fran Rosenberg was here last year to do a presentation. I'll get you that number.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Presentation of the draft district improvement plan. Let's do the budget first, because that needs to be done. So BNF met last week, reviewed the proposed budget by the administration, and they made a recommendation to the full committee. Remember it? It's up there, it'll be up there.
Gary, you want to do the
Sure.
honors?
Yeah, me too.
You have it's 5 slides.
Yeah. It's brief.
A, B, and from the same.
40 slides.
Okay, when Dr. Sapphire presented the budget February 26th, this is what the budget looked like. A total increase of $1.429 million. Then BNF met on March 4th, next slide, and 3 positions were added to the budget. They were in option C. As you know, we had slotted the teacher or the principal request into 3 options, A, B, and C. The budget that we presented February 26th had all the positions in A and B. And then
You want to just say something about the health insurance and what we had originally projected and what we now are estimating the increase is that effective?
yeah, we had health insurance that we estimated at 9.5% when we met with the city and the PEC committee. It was shared with us that the health insurance increases would be much less. And when we applied the rates to the staff that selected the plans they selected, it came out to a 5.6%. So we saved some money there.
But wait a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait.
yeah.
I wouldn't say save, I would say.
Well, first of all, it's all increasing and we don't know. You're just presuming, like all of us are presuming of what we have now. There's a lot of people who want to change in their insurance. And a lot of them are not there no more, and the only ones that are there are the higher ones. So you really are cutting that low, in my opinion. And I really don't like to tell the school about their budget, but that's a little low.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it either.
Right, we're gonna jack that up.
We can increase that.
I'm just letting you know, because.
Well, open enrollment ends May
Yeah.
8th, I think, or 9th, so you
Yeah.
know by the end of the year.
Yeah.
But
So,
you're not gonna know now what that number is.
No, and keep in mind, what we're asking the school committee to approve tonight is just a budget for the public hearing.
Okay.
So it's not the final budget. We'll have a lot more times to look at the budget. And at that time, we can make a final adjustment on the health insurance.
Or, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I just want to also say, so two things. One, the health insurance, in terms of this public hearing, it's going to be what it's going to be, right? So this is the estimate now versus what it was before. So that is not something I doubt people are going to come and make a comment on health insurance if they come to our public hearing. So, so it's good to know what is happening, which brings up my other point, is that we have a representative on the PEC, yet we only hear about it if somebody puts something forth that isn't consistent with what happened at those meetings.
All right, so being the representative, they just met last week and we have not met here. The day that I left that meeting, I came here and I told you
Right.
that about the meeting that happened.
Yes, so
that's a very unfair statement.
No, my point is, I think we need a little more, I think like anything else, an update.
Jerry was there?
Well, I guess who should the update come from, so that we all kind of understand some of the dynamics of what are happening along the way, so that we understand, so that when an estimate like this comes to be an F, we may say maybe that's too conservative, given the change in plans, because I didn't know a change in plans, that particular detail of health insurance. So I'm not criticizing.
Well, when it goes to the B&F, you're gonna have the line items, right?
Yeah. All I'm saying
Open
is,
enrollment happens every year, so anyone in that
But-
business in HR should know that the plans could change up until the end of May. This isn't a news story for this year. You shouldn't make a projection today you shouldn't make it till after open enrollment is closed. You could say that it's gonna be less than what you propose, most likely, but to throw a number that's that much lower, I would just suggest that change a little bit. You're being first year here, you're not that familiar with it, but this happens every year. I mean, this isn't a new phenomenon. I mean, every year we project higher and then the estimated rates come out and then we jump on that number, but then people get the opportunity to change plans and then that's the actual number. So this is something that happens every year. It's not new to this year.
Laura?
I just have a question about this, real honest, I have no idea. So I know people have until May to change their plans, but I was also told by HR that in July there's gonna be another open enrollment.
No,
That's not what I was told.
that's not correct. I'm a GIC coordinator. That's not true.
Okay, so that's what's coming out of the HR for the Gloucester schools.
I don't
We'll
know.
check on that tomorrow.
We'll check on that.
I mean,
yeah.
Ryan usually sends out her stuff when I get mine, and it's usually consistent. because-
Right.
So
My
I don't,
understanding was the April-May timeline.
yeah, that's what it is every year.
And
This
so-
is, every year, it's the same.
Keep
Couple
in mind
weeks.
that we're not gonna approve the final budget until June of '24. So we have a lot more times to refine this number. But I think the number, where I wanna focus our attention on is the additional positions that were added by, at our recent B&F meeting. So,
Before we get there, Gary, I do want to just focus just for a moment more on the insurance. So if the recommendation is that we increase, instead of the 5.6, we go anywhere from the 5.6 to the 9.5, that's going to impact the figure, the increase, and it's going to impact the overall budget number that you're going to approve tonight. So your motion may be this as amended with an insurance increase of X%, whatever that is. And hopefully you'll be comfortable making that decision tonight. I mean, we can calculate it, but it may take a little time.
Well, but once again, this is for the purpose of a public hearing. We will review the response we get from the public hearing, and then we'll vote a budget to go to the mayor, go to the administration. That's this is not going. This is for discussion.
So we can make that change.
I don't think we need to worry about the health. I mean, of course we need to worry about it, but we don't need to try to get it perfect tonight. The thing that should be up for discussion is the positions, as Gary said, because that's really what people are going to be interested in talking about, and what we are going to have to justify if we decide after the public hearing that we want to stick with those increases. That those are the issues that we are going to have to.
Right. So we really want to know what the school committee is. Do they support the recommendation coming out of B&F, or do they want to make some modifications? And we'll see some areas to decide in the upcoming slide.
Right.
So this slide here is what we presented on February 26th, a 3.31% increase, or $1.4 million proposed increase. So let's turn to the next slide. Maestro.
Well, this is the one this was before, right, the 3.31.
Right.
And this is after the B&F meeting.
So after the B&F committee meeting, we added 3 positions, and they totaled 224,000. So the 224,000 is added to the 1.4 million, which comes up to 1.653 million. So this increase, remember, before it was 3.31. Now, with adding the additional 3 positions, it comes to a 3.83% increase. For reference, last year, the city gave us an increase of 1.2 million. So how we came up with 1.4 million was that we knew that the state was providing an additional $200,000, $229,000. So the 229 plus the 1.2 came up to the 1.429. So that's what we recommended on February 26th. Let's move to the next slide. Here are all the positions, and we slotted them into A, B, and C. A was the highest priority, then B, and then C. So the original budget had all of A and all of B. And so now with the additional positions of the elementary adjustment counselor, 80,000, $65,000 salary, and a $15,000 health insurance. O&M is O'Malley, and that's elected position for $72,000. And another elementary math coach at $72,000. It's $57,000 plus $15,000 for health insurance. Now, what's interesting is if we add another elementary math coach, that would take us from 3 coaches to 4 coaches. And it'd be 4 coaches for the 5 elementary schools. And we would allocate those, most likely a full one at Veterans and Beeman, 0.8 at West Parish, and then 0.6 at East Gloucester and at Plum Cove. So at any rate, that's what was added, and The additional money that adds up to 224,000 was simply added to the 1.4 million. So that's what you have to talk about and decide what you want to do.
Just so, if you bump the insurance back up to around 9, it's about 180,000 more, which brings you to about 1.833, which is roughly 4.25% increase over FY20's budget.
And I think part of our discussion at BNF had to do with trying to find that balance between getting positions that we know will move to district and fill needs, like providing opportunity and providing progress and all that, offset it with trying to be fiscally sensitive to what the city and the community can possibly provide to us. So with that change in the health insurance number, if it is higher, then that 4.25% is probably not where I personally was trying to go with a total budget.
Right, but again, I just don't understand why we keep talking, like, you know, the health insurance, we have no control over it. It's not part of our, it's not part of, like, this shouldn't be part of our conversation. I understand it's budgeted into our department for whatever reason, but there's no discretion.
It's going to be what it is.
Right. So this 4.25 is a fiction. I'd rather we just look at what we're actually doing with the discretionary choices we can make. We can't say, you know what, we're not going to allow the increase in health insurance to go up 7.2% this year. Sorry, it's going to happen, right? Yeah, you know, to a lesser degree the IT stuff. So even though it bumps up our 4.25, the reality is the 3 whatever it was already artificially inflated for this cost that we carry that no one else carries. And so again, if we're trying to be a department of the city that needs to live within the bounds that the city can afford, we should look at what we're doing discretionarily and just kind of put health insurance, you know, that goes in this little bucket because it's health insurance is health insurance. Now what are the choices we're making and how is that actually impacting our budget up or down, right? I wouldn't want that 4.25 to come out as, you know, relating to choices we're making on the discretionary side.
I kind of agree with the messaging in that because there's many people that do go to that bottom percentage right away. How much are they asking for? 4%. Oh my God, now what are they asking for? So I'm wondering if there's a way, and I thought it was discussed at BNF, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that you were going to put the budget forward and then put the health insurance as a separate amount.
We did do that in our presentation.
I thought I saw that. So maybe that's how we present it going forward to everyone that we talk to about it.
It's fine as part of the act of persuasion over time to remove health insurance from the school budget. But right now,
It's not happening.
it's
I'm
an
not
act
saying
it's
to
an act
remove
of
it.
will on our part to suggest that it isn't part of our budget.
I'm not saying to
And the
remove
city
from the
should tell you
budget,
so.
just separate the figure when you
We've done
say
that.
it.
It was in the,
We
was
did
in
it,
the
and we'll
proposal.
do it again.
It was in the presentation.
We
It
do
will
it
be in
again.
the presentation.
This is
This is
reality.
just for us?
If you want me to pay for the insurance, I will. You take over the maintenance of the schools.
Talk to them.
I made that motion, not coming back.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And they're, you know, and it's just, you know this, it's obvious. If-
Yeah.
if
It's the same
if
thing.
Health insurance is $5 million, then as you know, our budget's gonna be $5 million less.
Right.
Right?
And the reality is, it's going up. So somebody's got to, it's the narrative.
And
It's
they'll
not.
still carve, if it goes up on the city side and it's for the school, then they're going to carve our budget in
Sure.
order to meet the need. It's just reality.
Right, but again, just one of those things where
Not resignation, reality.
even
It's all presentation.
Giving Kathy Knight, who's very well versed in this, been BNF for a long time, she understands how this all works. You know, but you had a visceral reaction when I said that's 4.25, right? Even though.
Because I've been here for a long time,
Right,
and
right.
people in the newspaper, hopefully Taylor, right here at 3.83 tonight on this one, but people will leap to that. And then you have to say, but health insurance is going up 9.6% or whatever the percent is, and that is a big chunk. It's having people have the patience to incorporate that there's certain things that are not in our control, like health insurance.
Sure, I guess what I'm trying to say is that if at 3.8, we were, for instance, okay with the O'Malley elective, but if at 4.25, we start thinking, well, maybe we need to take that back out, I'm saying that shouldn't be part of our calculus about
I know
being
what you're
elected, right?
Yeah, I know.
And so I wouldn't want that, whatever that number is, through health insurance inflation, shouldn't affect whether or not we think the O'Malley elective. Now, there's plenty of other stuff in the budget we can decide whether or not justifies including the O'Malley elective or not. But with health insurance at a 3% increase or a 16% increase or a 9% increase, that shouldn't be weighing in on whether we, decide that the O'Malley elective is a necessary position.
So I just, from an optics perspective, like, I totally agree, and I'm just wondering what the options are at presenting this to the public. Can we present a budget, agreed upon budget, and show, here is our budget, and take this line item out?
We do
We
that.
can for optic purposes, but it is like some optics, it is a figment.
Right.
The
Right.
city is not gonna look and say, oh gee, it's
Right.
4.25, and we'll take away the insurance.
Right, the city council,
They're just not
right.
gonna do that.
Of course they're not, but we're talking about public understanding.
And as a means of initial
Well,
persuasion,
you
I
can't do that,
understand
because then, you know what, let me tell you something. The insurance is involved, you put it in the damn budget like it was, he showed us whatever, it's his wish. Because I'll give you the side that shows all the maintenance of the schools and my custodians and everything else, we took away in swap of that.
It's not a
But I'm just saying, but people are gonna say, I'm taking $4 million away from you
But
if
what
you
I'm
do
saying-
that.
What I'm saying is, as a school committee member, is what I hear is, why is O'Malley so bad? Why can't we get it better? And what we say is, we're working on that, we have a school improvement plan, and we're trying to give O'Malley the support it needs. Here's where that money's going. It's not a question of what the city's paying for, what anyone else is
No
paying
one's
for.
pointing fingers
It's
at the city.
it's not pointing fingers, it's
Yeah,
saying,
we're
here,
not, because we understand
but
it.
it's
You don't
not
see
about
the
that,
call
it's about
back.
saying, here are the
Yeah.
things that we can control to improve learning and outcomes in our schools. I think that's where we wanna focus attention on the improvements we can make as a district.
Why can't you still make the improvements with the insurance budget there?
Is a 4 point, when the city first hears, right, when people come to this and they say, why do you need all that money? Why do you need all that money? Why? I don't understand. Because they're not understanding that some of this is something that we can't control, that's
And the same thing with the insurance, we can't control it, you don't
Nobody can
understand.
control
But how you're listening to it, you get it, I get it from the people saying, well, then why don't you take the insurance? Why isn't the city doing this and why isn't doing that? But the swap that you made last time is, it's the same thing, it's only, maintenance, custodians, the whole thing, the insurance.
The people, let me just say, the people that I speak to who are parents are not understanding, they're not interested in how the city pays its bills. They're not interested in who's paying for what and who's paying DPW. What they want to know is, what are we doing to improve our schools? Period.
I hear,
I'm
what are we
saying-
doing to improve the streets? What are you doing to improve this? I have no kids in school.
But we're talking about a school's budget.
Yeah, but you don't understand, we have to make it coexist. I have to sell the whole package to the city
All right.
in general.
Excuse me, I just want to hear finish your point.
I'm just talking about trying to make a presentation, not to city council who's voting on this, but to the public, to make this more understandable, like Joel is saying, that we don't have control over certain costs. But in our mission to improve the schools, we're making choices based, like, very well thought out choices.
You can do whatever you want to show the public, but when you go with the budget with the city side, that we have to get your budget, it's line item by line item.
Right.
We will see that.
And at that point, we'll have more information on the health insurance.
If that's what you want to do, that's fine, but let me tell you, the first phone call that I get, well, I don't have a kid in the street, and why is the schools, and they're getting this, and you're doing this, when I don't have no kids, I have no this, you don't do my private road, you don't do this. This is what we're dealing with.
Can I make the conversation worse and ask a question about budget? How did we come to the determination of the Plum Cove sped teacher not being part of?
That's
Because I've been hearing it for years.
I'm sure you
So,
have.
and I know that
Some of
principal's
us are
retiring, and now I'm
very
wondering if that's
persuasive
why
when it
she's
comes to
retiring.
argumentation. And there are some who look at the numbers
Okay.
and make comparisons
So even though it was a good wish.
and make
we can-
comparisons, and if you have a director of special education who says, I have looked at the services
Okay.
and I've looked at the numbers, and in my judgment, this is the way it should be, I have to make a decision.
That's helpful. Thank you.
And so again, just that, there is, what I'm always concerned about is it's the comparison, right? Because one of the ways in which our budget gets hit, is they'll go for it, they'll say, you know, let's say the DPW is only going up 2.25, whatever, and they have to do all this work, and you guys are getting 4%. You go, and it's just be able to articulate, say, yes, that's true, but you know, the DPW doesn't take their insurance, just to like show where we are in line with other departments. Say, oh, if the police station needs new roof and new windows, it comes out, DPW pays for it, right? It doesn't, you know, same thing, when we need new stuff for our schools, the DPW pays for it. They take care of all our buildings, just like the police station, just like the fire station, just like the schools, right? Just keep it all equal. Same thing, if the police's insurance go up 8% next year, it doesn't hit the police department's budget for 8%, it just sucks into the city. And so you're comparing apples to apples, you kind of pull that stuff out of our budget and to be, you know, perfectly honest, it's not just citizens, there are city councilors who call me every year and go, Joel, how come you need 1.2% more than any other department in the city, right? Because even though they're going line by line, they still have to look down at, you know, and so I just want to make sure that is out there. So when I go, well, for 1.2 because we have extra costs, we take our extra costs out, we're actually closer in line with the rest of the departments, we're not going nuts here. And so if the city councilors can have that reaction, I'm sure the public can have the reaction. It just seems to be like, let's just compare apples to apples. We're still asking for money, I'm not denying that, you know, but.
I've got a question. Is the optics, if we increase the health insurance, are you, you don't like the 4% number? Is a less than 4% increase acceptable?
For me personally, I would say any number that includes the health insurance is artificially inflating us when we get compared by citizens and even some of the city councilors to other departments. And that's what this is. The city only, you know, she only has a pot of money that's so big, right? And if it looks like we're getting an unfairly large piece of the pie, whatever that number is, it's always compared to what everyone else is getting. And so even if you can keep it down to, you know, 389 or whatever it is, there's some increase, that 389 really should be, you know, 332 or something, because that 0.5% is really health insurance.
Right.
To get it out of there and compare our real, 332 is still a lot, I'm not gonna say it's not, and there are definitely departments will come in a full percentage under, if not less, right? And that's a fair comparison at that point.
Right, I see what
And
you're
then goes to
saying.
Laura's argument, say, so okay, so you don't need 4.25, but you do need 3 1/3. Why do you need 3 1/3? Okay, these are decisions we made about OMA, these are decisions we made about adjustment counselors, that sort of thing. Then it's a fair conversation. We still have to defend the extra money we're trying to add in here, you know? We're certainly not gonna come in on our initial ask under Prop 2.5 limit, right? Like, we're gonna be over it. Let's be over it realistically, not.
Well, we're over 200,000, 229,000 is coming from the state.
Sure. So I'm just saying, remember, it's not about the number itself, it's that the number includes that cost. It's artificially inflated no matter what it is. And I'd like to just have an apples to apples comparison when people in the community, people on the city council compare us to other departments. That's apples to apples. And when you do that, you back the insurance cost out and keep it in a separate bucket. Obviously, the budget that goes up in her office will have the insurance sitting right in it, and the grand total will have the insurance right in it. And that's what the city council.
Well, just so when you make it look like that you understand you added to your budget, don't look like you have that $3 million sitting there, and your percentages that we're not giving you the percentage that you always get, and it looks like we're ripping the school side off.
Sure, that's
okay,
fair,
because then I'm gonna come out even louder than now.
Right.
Because it's considered part of your salary. You all are getting the insurance who get the insurance from here. All of us, including myself, that's included. So when you look at a teacher's salary, or you look at a city council, or you look at a DPW worker's salary, that's how we include it. Your hourly wage, your salary, your insurance, your other benefits is all concluded in the package. So, included in the package.
Okay, well, once again, this is.
Because it's not being fair on my side. Because people will look at it, and then when I say, I can't give you that road. Why? Because you missed that $4 million that just went up now on the insurance. Because then they're going to want to know, well, then why? Then when you need more money, and you need to tell them, well, you have to understand, salaries and insurance that's how we run the city. Most of our budget, no matter where it is based on that. Then from that, you have your roads, then your extra things and all of that. But we have 1,200 employees. 1,200 families, insurance, whatever it may be. But that's part of a salary. That's part of it. That's how we explained it to them. The fact is that, we take a lot of pride of what was going on in schools and what we're doing together. I have a whole list here we're going to work together and do. But let me tell you something. Salary is part of your insurance. Because you wouldn't have a job in the city of Gloucester if you didn't have the insurance. Because let me tell you, no matter what everyone looks at it, our insurance package is a good package, even though I don't like it personally. Because it's the GIC, I'd rather have a single plan as another one. But the fact is, we're lucky in one way last year, so we had a little bit of savings, all of us. But let me tell you something, that savings costing us. Big time this year. And it's not done. Because we don't know what you're gonna choose. And that's why I said, and I regret even opening my mouth, because I was gonna help you a little bit, saying, you really need to increase that just a little bit, because you're gonna fall short if they decide that, you know what, I need the Unicare. Or I need this plan because, you know what, the Fallon isn't good enough for me. So I was honest with you because just like him, we heard all that increases, and I'm figuring all the numbers that we had on our side, how many people we have and what's going on. I'm going, I don't think we're all going to stay on the same plan. I really don't. If we do, that's great, but I don't think we are. And we have to let people know that, you know what, you want good help, it's a package. Even though you want to throw the package to me all the time, can you hurry up and go home? What?
So, once again, this is for the purpose of a discussion with the public. And we can certainly have a discussion about healthcare as well as the discussion about all of those things that we believe we need to add to our system. And it's substantial. It's been a long time since I saw a list like that. That we were asking for and
It's driven out of the turnaround plans.
Well, I know,
too,
but it's
right?
also,
Yeah.
I mean, options A and B are, we think are doable. You know, it's only the three things in option C that
This is adding up to, new positions are adding up to 839,000 of the $1.6 million increase. So half of it is new positions.
And I think that's, you know, that's very ambitious, and I think that.
It is ambitious.
You know, from my years on the school committee, I can't remember a year when we were able to ask for this much, and with some idea that we're gonna get most of it,
Not even this day.
you know, so.
But I mean, we have guidance from the state recommending that we do
I
this.
understand
We're getting
that.
state money, which we don't usually get too, so.
Well, I know, but
As
I'm
much.
just saying that this is
This is good.
This is good,
Yeah.
this is, you know, and we need to, you know, let the insurance fall where it may. We need to be talking about these things right here.
Right.
These are the things that we need to move the district forward. And those, that's what the conversation should be about, not, you know, well, health insurance is going up.
I just would like to see numbers underestimated, I'd rather overestimate.
Yeah, we have, there's a lot of accounts in the budget that make up to $44 million. Some of them are overestimated, some are underestimated. We're gonna fine tune those as we get, but they pretty much balance out. And so, it's a true budget. And we still don't know how people are gonna select which insurance, so we'll still have plenty of time to make adjustments.
So you, ask a question, so are you saying without, I mean, I know what you voted to put forward, but if we don't get C, anything in C, we're in a good place, the percentage doesn't go up as much. If we took C completely off, and not that I'm asking you to do that, but I gotta put everyone in.
Yeah, it would be less
It goes-
money, yeah.
It goes to,
What,
Goes to
is that
this.
right there, and
That's A and B.
that's A and B
Okay.
included, and,
Right.
but it's also with the healthcare number perhaps a little bit lower
right,
than,
okay.
you know, than it may end up. But the bottom line is that, you know, putting this forward is a substantial, even if this is where we end up, this is a substantial improvement to the district.
Yeah, it accomplishes our
Absolutely.
goals that
You know,
we have.
I mean, we could do better, but this is nothing to be,
We're not cutting.
to be ashamed of.
Right.
Okay,
Right, there are no reductions
there's no reductions.
in the budget.
So,
So can I make a motion so we can discuss if anybody
Sure.
wants to alter any of what we did? I move that we approve the budget of $44,792,716 for the purpose of the public hearing for fiscal year 2021.
Second. Based upon your motion, I have a handout that shows what it will be displayed in the newspaper.
We tend not to show the increase or the percent usually historically.
Oh, this is what is required to be.
You have to publish a budget number.
Yeah.
No, but we've just published the columns before, not the stuff you have to decide in my recall.
No, this is what we've been doing for the last several years.
Okay.
Yeah. You take one and
all right.
pass it.
So the process is, this will
That's in our
be,
packet.
if we pass this, if the vote is positive, this will be published. Books will be available at the library, here at the main office, and someplace else.
On the web.
City Hall?
At City Hall?
You can do the city hall, library, and the district office, as well as on the web.
Okay. And for people to review, and hopefully on April 1st, they will show up and let us know what they think, whether we're asking for too much or too little.
Can I ask you a question, just to be clear? So the budget here is the ABC, the fiscal year 2021 one is the one that we
Yes,
usually.
A, B, and some of C.
A, B, and some of C, the one with.
It's
the-
right here.
Yeah, okay, just double checking.
So with respect to this notice, sorry.
Oh, okay.
It says we're meeting here, so.
Yeah,
Right, that's what it
we'll, we
That's
gotta
what
figure out where we're
John's
gonna meet, because as I said, Kairos is not available for April
Don't
1st.
hit publish.
Yeah, don't hit publish till we get the location.
Well, I don't know that we want to publish a place that we don't usually go to for a public hearing. I mean, we should kind of stay consistent.
Well, but we have this issue of a virus.
We've
so
had
we're
it at
trying to
O'Malley.
spread out.
Yeah,
We've had it at O'Malley before, that has space.
Yeah, the
No
main
one
library,
comes anyway.
yeah,
The library at O'Malley is
It's
pretty
even
big for a
bigger.
meeting.
yeah,
bigger, higher ceilings, more air.
yeah, more, yeah, and a window.
Yeah.
So can we do it there?
Yeah,
So, I don't know what happened to it, sorry.
well, there's a motion before us, and so we need to discuss the motion. If you want, I'll vote on it.
We're just voting on the budget right now.
We're voting on the budget.
Oh, for the public hearing, I thought it'd be great to have, one of the slides BNF got, it showed the per pupil spending of us as compared to other schools in our district, and maybe our geographic district would also be helpful. And again, the number we're asking for, the only reference point people have in deciding, or one of the main reference points in deciding whether or not it is reasonable, whether or not it makes sense, is they look at what else is happening. And so say, even at this increase, our per pupil spending is not outrageous, because if we're trying to say, hey, listen, we want to turn these schools around, we want to continue the progress we've made with our accountability scores, this is what it costs, and our costs are not, I mean, one of the criticisms that we hear is, we spend so much money, what are we getting for it? And actually, we're spending kind of an average amount of money.
Yeah. Okay, so BNF will meet next week at their regular meeting time. And can we review the presentation for the public hearing?
Sure,
You know?
absolutely.
Okay.
I have a question on this. How come transportation went down?
We don't have any bus drivers. I don't know.
I think out of district.
There was, they shifted something around.
Yeah, we looked at the budget was coming in higher than the actual this year. And so we were in alignment with the actual, not what was budgeted, but the actual cost.
Thank
you.
Any further discussion on the proposed budget?
Can I ask you before you shut that budget, that you look, to make sure that you look that we are, all set with our bus drivers, the pay, the whole thing, and also, you know, we're gonna lose also substitute teachers when you need them because we're underpaying hours, way below. Have anyone checked on that?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, are we up, did we upgrade them?
I thought we upped something in the last contract. We're consistent with other districts.
No. We upped the bus drivers.
Bus drivers, what about
Bus drivers we
substitute?
did. That's
Substitute
that's been done.
teachers?
Substitute teachers, I believe.
We were talking about changing that.
I thought we did it.
I'm doing some research on that right now.
Yeah, because I know Rockport pays 90, we pay 75, and so other
Right.
schools are higher.
Yeah.
Do we pay $9.75 for a retired teacher though?
No,
We pay $125.
We pay for retired teachers,
Right.
yes, but for regular ones, they go 90. I'm just saying, I don't wanna hear in the middle of whatever that, guess what, we can't get, you know, because someone's sick and we have no one, whatever. I'm just letting you know, I'm giving you a little hints here and there, but you keep giving me the eye,
So if we up the substitute, you're gonna give us more money in the budget?
Well, let me tell you something, you know what, I don't wanna hear it during the middle of the year that we have no funding,
Yeah.
and we're doing other projects, that, you know what, we have no one to teach in our schools, and all of us are gonna have to be substitute teachers. And I don't think you want me with your kids.
I can do multiplication tables.
Well, we already went to
Based on your Instagram, get your cooking class on.
All right, well,
Economic,
all right,
yeah.
this is, this is not the final budget.
Yeah.
This is
Just
for,
so you know.
for discussion. We need to correct the location. And the, unless I find out differently tomorrow, I will do it at the O'Malley Library.
Okay.
Okay?
So you'll
sometimes-
tell Rich and.
Well, they might have something set up in there,
Okay.
you know, plants or things growing or something that I don't know about right now. So
All right, so
I'll just double check.
I'll wait to hear from you.
Yep, tomorrow. Okay. Do we need roll call for this?
Yeah. No, the final budget.
Final budget we do. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Present.
Present. It passes.
I heard it.
Six in favor, one present. Let's see, it's 10 minutes at 9:45. What's next?
Well, President Trump just suspended all travel from Europe to the US, so I don't know if all the students will go anywhere.
That's not the
The school committee annual calendar, I'm just gonna pass this out. It's quite different, and we'll talk about it at our next meeting. What? Okay, I'm gonna move on to action items. How long of the presentation is the district improvement plan?
Oh. I would hate to give it a short shrift.
Yeah.
It is the core of what we do academically.
I agree. I agree. In seriousness.
So, we will table, the, presentation on district improvement plan.
Let's do it before the public hearing. Do it right at the public hearing.
The public hearing.
So
Well,
we're
it is
talking
part of
about
the,
it,
to some extent, it's part of the presentation.
You could elaborate.
Building and finance, did we cover everything?
We did.
We did, because it was just budget, okay. We approved earlier this evening, we approved the superintendent search brochure. We approved the budget. What?
Calendar?
The school calendar is, needs to be approved, and it's in your packet. Calendar FY 2021. And there is on, Labor Day is very late this year, so we would be starting before Labor Day.
September 2nd.
It's as late as it can possibly be.
So September 2nd is the start date.
Either later than the 7th.
Oh, Labor Day.
Labor Day,
Yeah,
that's what I
it's
said.
October.
Labor Day is what triggers the start date. And if it's forget, there's 3 or 4 days, it's something that's weird.
It's a teacher's clause in the
That we can
teacher's
start
contract.
before it if it's late. So it's as late as it can be, so we can start before. But the decision that they made on the administration is they would not, normally would start on Tuesday. But Tuesday is the primary day in Massachusetts, and it's a voting day. So rather than try to, there's just too many, because if we started, if we had teachers in on Monday and then we'd start school on Tuesday, it would be kids' first day of school and voting, so let's not.
It's a regular election.
So not do that. So they'll be starting on, teachers would come on Tuesday, the 1st, and students would come on Wednesday. They go Wednesday, Thursday, then they'd have the long weekend, 4th, 5th, and 6th, and 7th, and then we'd start again on the 8th.
So should we make a motion for discussion?
Sure.
I move that we, for the sake of discussion, approve the calendar presented.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Now to hop in. So, the question was, why is Friday the 4th off? That seems like a nice, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, is a nice spin up. Why are we going down to 2 on that first week right now?
What day is it?
Friday the 4th, I would just do 2.
September.
And it's September 4th. It's already a long weekend, it's the first week of school. I mean, they can't do 3 days in the first week, seems easy enough. I have just 3 things. That was the first one. The second one was just on November 25th, I think should be colored, different color than black because it's a pre-K through 12 early release day. I think those all otherwise get different color, right? Or a highlight or something. November 25th, yeah.
Half day.
It's a half day.
Before. It's a day before Thanksgiving.
Right, so should it just turn a different color? It's black, and the only half days get a different color usually? Maybe not, maybe not.
It says here.
Oh, they highlight.
K to 12 early release.
So they're highlighted, I'm sorry, so they're black lettering with yellow highlight elsewhere. So I think the 25th needs to be highlighted with yellow so that people don't miss it, right?
No, that's not consistent. Sometimes it's blue,
Oh, you
sometimes it's highlighted.
So whatever the key is, try to reestablish the key.
Sometimes it's
There are in blue
green.
professional development early releases, and
Why do you have the 4th off?
it's identified there as an early release day, non-professional development. I think that's why it's in black.
That's stupid.
Okay, just for someone looking at the calendar,
You're right.
doesn't jump out.
Visually, it doesn't look like it's anything but a full day, so I agree, we'll find a way to color code that.
And my last one was just making Wednesday, December 23rd a half day instead of a day off.
I'm sorry, which day?
Wednesday, December 23rd, a half day.
December?
Yeah, the day before Christmas Eve being a half day. We tried this year to go with a full day before vacation and we got disappointing results of the productivity that day. So if a day has to be a throwaway before the vacation, whether it's smart to make the 23rd a half day, so that becomes the throwaway and maybe stuff gets done on the 22nd. Because this year, the full day before the vacation was.
No matter what day you put, it's gonna be a throwaway day.
That's what I'm saying. So if we can if we make the 22nd productive by making the 23rd a half day instead of making the 23rd a day off, you get one more productive school day out of that month.
Can we start with the 4th and why that's off?
Well, those are 3 things, and one of them was resolved, right? Joel, you had 3 things. One's resolved, the highlighting of it. So what we're talking about is the 4th, so let's just talk about the 4th, September 4th. I thought it was,
Why is it
well, I think it's traditionally, we've done it that way because we were starting on a Monday, and so I don't know, so.
That's like a tease to the parents, go to school, but oops,
Well,
night home again.
there is some value in bringing the kids in for just to get oriented, get their books, find out where they're going, and then then send them home. But the question is, send them home first.
My understanding is that Labor Day weekend is typically been a 4 day.
Yeah.
When? I
That's
was thinking
why.
that last year, I don't know of any year.
Well, it only comes into play when we start before Labor Day. So it doesn't come into play. The normal
When we have,
Labor Day is the Monday, the teachers show up on Tuesday, kids start on Wednesday.
We're at the bare minimum of how many hours we have in school. And we're worried about a 4-day
A day is a day, it's either
I
then or
know,
later.
but it's disruptive. That means
Well-
the 3rd's gonna be a wash, because the 4th is a long weekend.
if it, just so I can say, we're absolutely fine with going to school on Friday. There may be some pushback from the public, and if the school committee sets that date, that's fine.
Why would they be pushed back by the public?
Just-
I'm thinking the opposite.
It's still a long
They're
weekend.
still getting a long weekend, they still have Monday off.
I totally agree with you, I'm just, from a Gloucester perspective, that the Schooner Festival starts Friday. Like, it's just gonna be I totally agree, I think we should have school, I'm just saying, there could be pushback because people are engaged in Labor Day weekend stuff, including the festival.
I think a lot of businesses do a half day on that weekend too, because it's the last weekend of the summer. I know we always had half day when I worked in New York. So, attendance is a concern.
I think I speak to the other side of the world, and parents are gonna ask why we don't have school. Why go to school for 2 days?
Yeah,
That just makes absolutely no sense in my world.
the childcare stuff is very difficult.
Yeah.
Well, here's where it's settled, right? I move to amend my motion to amend the calendar to make the 4th a full school day.
Second.
Discussion.
So when are they starting school?
They're starting on
Tuesday.
Tuesday,
No.
Wednesday, Wednesday,
Well,
so they
you
would
know
go
what?
Wednesday, Thursday,
No,
Friday.
no, I'm listening, I'm saying, because there is a Labor Day, and usually we don't have school, and before you make a vote tonight, you make that, why don't you talk to your teachers to see if they have plans?
Well, it's in the contract of when we start. They're still getting Monday off. It's not like we're taking the holiday away. It's still the 3-day weekend. Adding a 4th to the 3-day weekend is
You wanna
not
work,
typical.
but you said you're gonna do a full day on Friday.
We usually do.
Yeah.
So they still have Monday off, so it's still Saturday, Sunday,
Alright.
Monday. This is unusual. This isn't something that happens all the time.
It's just the way that it fell.
It's just the way that it's falling, but start school Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, and then have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off. That's disruptive, I think, in my opinion. And I think many parents are gonna ask why bother even starting school that week for 2 days.
They ask all the time anyways.
Days a day, so what if we
Because
add,
isn't voting, isn't the primary?
That's the first.
the first is, so the teachers would come on the first, but no students, no
Right,
deaf.
right.
Um,
And that.
So if we eliminate, if we have school on the 4th, what that will do is take a day off the end of the year.
So let me get the mayor on my side.
Uh,
So if, right now, school ends on the first day of Fiesta, that means
I
one
don't
snow
care about
day.
that. I give up my mayor's
With
holiday.
snow days.
One
with
snow
days.
day will throw it off, so if we add the Friday.
I'm just
at the
saying-
beginning of
Snow
the
day.
year.
All right,
It's not-
so we have a motion to make Friday.
Well, then why don't you start in August?
September 4th, a school day. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Present.
It covers, passes 6-1, 6 in favor, 1 present. It is my birthday, so
Oh,
it's,
don't the vote day.
and I voted to go to work.
There you go.
All right.
anything plans?
Okay, what was the other one, Joel?
December
Half day
23rd.
before, make,
Make that day off a half day.
Okay.
And so I'm, see the discussion going, I move to amend the calendar to turn the 23rd of December from a day off to a half day of school.
Second.
On Christmas Eve?
No, the day
No,
before.
day before.
The 23rd?
Right. So last calendar, we had a half day scheduled before the week, like Christmas was like over the weekend this year, right? So that Friday we had slated as a half day, and I made the suggestion to make it a full day to try and get some, and what kind of happened from reports I got from the elementary, middle, and high schools was that it was the day before vacation regardless, that it was a full day and it wasn't super productive.
Yeah,
So there's
it's
this
not.
mindset that the day before vacation is kind of like a wrap-up clean your locker kind of
Yeah.
thing. I'd rather have that be a half day on the 23rd, so the 22nd is productive. My fear is that if we have the 23rd just off, the 22nd, this full day, will become less productive because it'll become that throwaway day.
Right.
So this half a day on the 23rd buffers you.
Can I just
Laura?
ask, what do our educational leaders, I mean, what do you guys think about that? Is that your experience?
I'm okay with the change.
But is that your, I mean, I've had that experience as well, but I'm just wondering from an educational perspective. I mean, the day before break, I'm told, is, it's never anything.
It's a holiday each year in the air and all that kind of business. It lends itself.
I mean, I suspect there'll be a lot of absenteeism those 2 days anyway, because of the timing, so, okay.
That's fine.
The thing that you gotta keep in mind is half days are half days and they affect our overall hours of, because once again, if we make this a half day, it counts as a day, but it only counts as 3 hours. So we've got two numbers we have to hit every year. One is days and the other is hours. And there's not a lot of wiggle room in the hours.
But if it's off, then what?
Well, if it's a half day, it counts as a day. But if it's only 3 hours, it only counts as 3 hours.
I know, but if it's a day off, how many hours do?
Oh, then it's on the end, it's at the end of the year. In other words, if we make this a half a day, we're taking another day off the end of the year. We're taking a full day off the end of the year.
Right, or we're adding another half day at the end of the year, because we don't have the hours.
Well, but then we have a conflict with the teachers because that's a day. And the teachers have a contract for a number of days.
Right.
So on that December 8th half day, is there a way to move PD so that December 8th could be a full day?
Well, I don't know.
Where would you move it and still have PD on a half day?
Unless you want to have it on the 23rd of December.
That's not a good.
That doesn't sound like a good
That's
idea.
not a good idea. No.
So I am.
Yeah, we'll do this another.
Would you like to make that change pending a review of the hours to make sure that if we don't go below required hours, and if we don't?
Why don't we just make it a full day?
Well, that's.
Why have it up?
Well, that would be the other option, is to just make it a
Make
full
23rd a
day.
full day.
Yeah, make it a full day. Or 2. Right.
Yeah, I mean, this half day before Christmas break, before Christmas Eve is, I think, a tradition, but I don't know why it's written in stone or anything.
Happy
Because
days.
some families travel.
And you have the 24th off, it's not like you're going waking up the next day, it's Christmas morning.
Right.
Okay, I can get behind a full day on the 23rd. Again, however productive it'll be or not be.
And they'll be having Christmas parties or whatever, but they're gonna have them the 22nd if we don't do it the 23rd. They're gonna happen anyway.
What's that?
There's no matter.
The celebration
if you have
of the day
If you have a
before.
vacation, there's always gonna be a day before vacation.
Right.
Right,
There's nothing you can do
Right.
about that.
Right.
so we'll just extend the week. Because then they don't come back until the 4th.
Right.
So, 1, 2, 7, 8.
So I withdraw my amendment, so Melissa can make her own.
Are you making me make the motion?
Yeah.
I move that we change December 23rd from a day off to a full day of school.
Second.
Discussion,
Uh,
December 23rd.
Does that change, I'm sorry, does that change the last day?
Yeah, that changes brings the last day. Those are throwaway days too, you know?
Yeah. But it's Fiesta too. Last day of school right now is Fiesta.
With snow days.
So if you add snow days, it's gonna go
Well,
into
it's
Fiesta.
Thursday.
No,
That's
the
happening
regular
before.
is June 17th, and then if we have
Oh,
snow
okay,
days, it's the
24th.
24th.
No,
That's
the.
with snow days.
Oh,
That's
with
with
snow
snow
days.
days.
No, we're not into that week.
That's happened before,
Okay.
it's no big deal no more.
Yeah, there's a buffer.
My mistake.
It was like.
But it
I
does
still make a
move up,
motion.
it does move up the last day of school.
So,
If we go to
pending
school.
snow days.
Regardless.
on the 23rd.
Well, just in my opinion,
Yes, your opinion.
based on educational things happening that day, but my guess is that families would probably appreciate the half day on the 23rd to be able to travel and prep and do things. I mean, if I would suggest that we could review, you could make a motion to add the 23rd pending a review of the hours.
We voted a half day, and then if we don't need the hours, that's okay, but if we do need the hours,
If we
then
do
make
need
it a
the
full
hours,
day.
it would become a full day. That's easy enough to do, calculate all the hours.
Okay, so you accept that amendment?
So, yeah. We amended it, you want to?
Well, no,
Back to the original, the other.
We gotta vote on it first, right?
well,
Or you can amend my motion.
okay.
Your motion's amended to my motion.
No, you withdrew your motion, so you're gone right now. But you can amend mine now if you
Why
want.
don't you just withdraw it and start from scratch?
I didn't withdraw my motion.
Okay, so the motion, I'll make the motion that we go to school for half a day on December 23rd, but with the caveat that we will review the total hours for the year, and if there's, if it puts us in jeopardy of not meeting our obligation for total hours for the year, we will review it again.
It would become a full day.
It will become a full day. All right, that's fine. And that's the motion.
Second.
Okay. Discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
What is that white thing up there?
I'm abstaining because the motion to me is confusing. If it was, the motion was a full day, I was gonna say no. If it's a half day, I'm gonna say yes. So I'm not sure
Yeah.
the intent of that motion solves my.
Early childhood class.
All right, so,
That's a choice.
we vote?
Yeah,
We did just vote, but Kathy voted.
I abstain.
You abstained, okay. So we carried 6 in favor with 1 abstention.
So now it's back down to my original motion to approve the calendar.
All right.
Oh.
We haven't approved the calendar yet, all we've done is change it. All right, so we put a motion on for discussion, it was seconded. Is there any further discussion on the calendar
So now it's to approve it as amended.
as amended?
And that amendment is the half day on the 23rd.
And a full day on the
School on the
4th?
That is the current calendar we're looking at.
Yes. Any
But the
further?
23rd could become a
Right now, the calendar we're voting on is as a half.
Right,
That's what we're approving.
pending kids, yeah.
well, and if we're in jeopardy, we'll review it. That was my motion. Greg just said, oh, we could turn it into
And the last day of school would be the 15th.
earlier the better. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Maybe just present, Mayor.
Okay. Moving on. What's left?
Look at it, something's ice cream.
No, it's
Grants.
piece of fuzz.
Yeah.
Okay,
Snowball.
It's a snowball, yeah.
we, this is snowball, hasn't melted yet, okay.
Yeah.
Under action, we have we have 3 grants that we've already approved, but they have actually come in at a different amount, which is what this is about. So we've already approved Title II, but the grant, the number that we approved was $857 less than what we approved. So this is to make an adjustment in that grant approval of Title II grant for $857.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
It's too much money, send it back.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Title I is exactly the same story, except it came in $903. We are going to receive $903 more than we had anticipated. So do we have a motion?
So moved?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The third one is the special education 240 grant, which has an increase of $3,546.
I move that we accept the grant.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So, Massachusetts School Building Authority project update. Trying to think what's happened in the last 2 weeks.
The explanation of the design.
Well, we had a presentation at our last meeting, and we had the opportunity to talk to the designers. There's going to be a school building committee meeting tomorrow at Veterans, and what's on the agenda will be they're starting to do some interior design of the actual spaces. And that will be presented, it will not be up for vote, but it'll be presented tomorrow. Just trying to think what else is on the agenda. There'll be a further discussion about the HVAC systems that were presented at the last meeting. Right now, there's some issues about what gets air conditioned, what doesn't. So that will be, I believe, that was presented at the last meeting, and it will be voted on at this meeting. We'll get an update on the CMR, the contractor at risk process. They're going to be issuing an RFQ, so we're going to start the process of advertising for a contractor at risk. There'll be some talk about the exterior design. At the last meeting, which I was not there, they presented the floor plan, and it was accompanied by some renderings of the exterior, which were really only intended to serve as sort of an idea of what the volume of the building would look like. The Gloucester Times headline said, final approval or something, which was not true. I tried to make a correction, they didn't seem to.
I saw it. In the paper?
They made the correction?
They made the correction, yeah.
I didn't see it.
I don't read the paper very.
I saw it I only read it online, but it was definitely on the online edition.
Okay, so basically what was approved was not the window placement or the colors of the building or the materials of the outside of the building. What was approved was the floor plan. And the renderings simply reflected what the floor plan would look like on the outside. So 2 weeks, the city council will receive a presentation from the building designers as well as the traffic engineers.
What day is that?
It would be the 23rd, is that right? I have to look at my calendar. It'd be 2 weeks from yesterday, Tuesday, the 24th.
Is the traffic closed?
And the traffic engineer will be there to present also. We've distributed the traffic report that was requested. Anything else? That's Joel?
So, given the time, we don't have to answer it tonight, but I still want this committee to have some conversation in the very near future about whether, as one of the bodies that has to approve whatever the building committee sends up, whether they approve, is there any threshold or any goals that we as a committee expect to see come out of it. As I mentioned, you know, like, when we have a discussion, I'm gonna forward that this committee should instruct the building committee that we expect this project to come in, you know, within the median of, you know, pricing on that chart we had examined last time. And, you know, there may be other things that aren't necessarily monetary, but we as a school committee, understanding what we have for our budget, understanding what we have for educational needs, say, hey, it's imperative, you know, when they gave us the presentation, they showed the stage, we also need to kind of say, good, like, that's important that the school has that. As they alluded to, the time for the building committee to make these decisions is coming up really soon. And so if we're gonna provide any input saying, hey, if you expect a positive vote from the school committee, you know, here's things we're looking for to be accomplished, I think we should have that conversation that, you know, I was hoping to have it at this meeting, it's too late now, so maybe at the next meeting, just so that we don't get that old, something comes up to us and we go, well, what are we gonna do? If we say no now, we lost 9 months, you know?
Well,
Okay.
go ahead.
At our last meeting, cost was definitely discussed and highlighted, that we did not want to be outliers in terms of cost, and that being as it, the project manager definitely got it. He reiterated what Dr. Sapphire said about, we truly care about cost, and it, you know, no outliers, right? So that was discussed and heard by the designers and the committee, and no one, you know, really involved.
I mean, we can have this discussion further, but I would just like to say that the educational plan drives the design, the layout. The square footage drives the price. Now, there are things that you can do to bring price down, but, you know, and you can have discussions about things like the space around the gym, or the access to the stage, but you can't really have discussions around less classrooms or smaller classrooms, or no, you know, trying to have an auditorium, cafeteria, gymnasium, or any of those things. Those are not going to be accepted by MSBA. MSBA is not going to let us do that. So the things that you can do that really change the price are things that you do less expensively now, which may in fact cost you more money later. That's a huge thing. I mean, you can put down carpet instead of a hard surface floor in many places.
Then you're replacing carpet in 5 years.
Then you're replacing the carpet in 5 years, or you can put in a you know, less efficient heating, air conditioning system, which costs less up front, but costs more to run down the line, or things that don't last as long. So we certainly can have that discussion, but
no, the other non-monetary.
I'm just saying, to think that there's some way of, you know, the cost of digging up the ground and putting in the piers for the building that size, there's nothing you can do about that. It's gonna be what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, we can have that discussion. So, is there anything else that we would like to discuss, old business or new business, before we adjourn? No, thanks.
Even if there was, we're not going to. No one wants to.
Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion to the meeting is adjourned.